right, here we go. We don't have a fancy. We don't. You guys are rookies, fucking with your mics, making all kinds of mic sounds.
I didn't realize that you're.
I said 10 seconds, Hatley. You fucking rookie.
I saw the
Frog.
red light on the mic, so I needed to be quiet.
We gotta get some. I gotta get some produced stuff that
Some imaging.
I'm right. You're left. We're screwed. I actually think that's pretty damn good name. To be honest with you,
And it's the truth.
me and Hatley have been working. God, we've been working together a lot. Me and Hatley.
Yeah.
Love Hatley. And Brian, I've been seeing you a lot too.
Yeah, a lot.
I feel
more,
like this is a little get together,
like the pre-COVID stuff, the pre-COVID times.
We're going to take this and repurpose it later today on our podcast. The last time we did this, which was "I'm right, you're wrong" / we've changed it because the last show kind of skewed left, don't you think?
I think it skewed more into the libertarian, not the left versus right or red versus blue team, more into the rest of us, the 80% of the United States that wants to talk about common sense.
Well, I need you to have some common sense on how you adjust your microphone so people can see your face.
This is a visual platform as much as it is audio.
There you go, Brett Hatley.
Who wants to see my face? I mean,
well, Hatley, I want to see your face more than I want to see, the backside of a donkey dick looking RE30.
You're a sight for sore eyes for a lot of these people here.
Yeah, donkey teeth $9.99.
I love donkey teeth. He's awesome.
But I did get some complaints that we were like sucking the left dick last time, so I got to be here and be a little bit more right, I think.
Well, that's because people are caught in this left-right paradigm because everybody wants it to be like college football, Alabama versus LSU.
Well, but we're hoping they do that. That'd be better for our business.
Yeah, I mean, and that's better for everybody's business is getting people fighting about stuff.
Getting people riled the fuck up.
Yeah, that's all it's about. We gave people actual, real information last time.
Brian, do you think that the parties get together and be like, how can we rile them the fuck up?
It's a symbiotic relationship, right? It's mutual. So the abortion issue is a perfect example of it. If one side has their way completely, then that side can't really fundraise. It's hard to motivate your base when you're getting exactly what you want, which is why we never get real solutions to any of our problems or issues.
So are you saying that
it's all about fundraising?
The GOP may have messed up by hardlining this abortion deal because they can't get their hardcore base all riled up to fundraise because they got what they wanted. Grandma from fucking Nebraska got what she wanted.
It's what they wanted, but it's not how they wanted to get it.
Tom Bean said to me that the Supreme Court ruling with regards to Roe v. Wade was the Supreme Court being a bunch of rogue dicks.
Yep.
And said that's not what the GOP wanted. They are just trying to flex their fucking muscle right now, and it's really it's unlike any time of the Supreme Court.
It is like any other time of the Supreme Court, and you have to.
So he was right.
He was definitely right. They were flexing their muscle, and it wasn't based on politics. It's based on religion. 8 of the 9 of them are hardcore Catholics. The 9th one is a hardcore evangelist.
And aren't we fundamentally not supposed to be figuring a religion in on? Haven't the Supreme Court itself made rulings on separating religion out of the deal?
Yeah, prior to this court. That's why this court is different than every other court that we've had.
Because this is like I Love Jesus court.
This is the I Love Jesus, I want to suck off Jesus court.
I want to suck off Jesus court.
And that applies to the liberals on this court as well, by the way, because they are Catholics. And the other one, the woman that Justice Jackson, I think is her name.
So 8 of the 9 are now. Is there anybody of the 9 that are agnostic?
None, not even close.
Are we still a country where if you are agnostic, not even hardcore like you, atheist, but just agnostic, which is kind of atheist light? Agnostic,
yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
It's people that aren't willing to,
just love the devil.
It's saying that you can't disprove the existence of.
Right.
It's taking. Honest to me, it's more intellectually honest and consistent.
To me,
position.
To me, it's not intellectually honest and consistent.
To me, it's a tweener deal.
So
And I
you're
get
saying
less
there's
heat
a
on.
0.0 chance
I'm saying
that there's a higher power
I'm saying,
that we don't know about.
I'm saying there's a 99.9999999% chance that there is no higher power. What is most likely?
I agree with you on that. But
we still got to live in this society, so we got to hedge your bets, Hatley.
And
not everybody can be hardcore like you, Hatley.
But until you see everybody, I love liberals who are religious, who go, you got to follow the science until it comes to religion, where you've seen zero evidence of anything. But that could be. Yeah, there could be a flying spaghetti monster too, and Jack Frost could be real too. We don't know that.
Santa Claus?
But Santa Claus could be real too.
Santa Claus was a real person.
We don't.
Just like Jesus Christ was.
But Santa Claus doesn't fly in a fucking
person.
deal
No, he
with
wasn't.
Rudolph.
Jesus Christ was not a historical person. Jesus Christ was a metaphor. Never, ever was that a actual person.
So you're
person.
saying that Jesus Christ
There
never
is
was...
no-
Hold on. Let me ask the question.
Yep.
You're saying that Jesus Christ never was in human form.
Never.
Lakeland Hoosier 25.
There is no historical evidence. Now, Muhammad, yes, was a real person.
We're not talking about him. Holy shit. And we're certainly not drawing this picture.
Buddha, yes, was a real person. Jesus Christ was never actually a real person. There is no historical evidence.
Can you imagine, though,
it.
if there was Jesus Christ, how cool he was? Especially if they depict him the way, like, he was kind of surfer, kind of tan.
He lived with a whore and never fucked her, so
he also went east. They say, where are the lost years of Christ, right? And the theory is that he went east and he learned a lot of the Buddhist concepts and a lot of Eastern religion and incorporated that in his thought process and teaching when he returned back to the West.
All right, so listen, we can at least agree on this, whether you're atheist or agnostic, that the court, our highest court in our land, shouldn't be making decisions that are based on something, Lynn Bailey, $20 Canadian, that we cannot, religion is the biggest fucking boondoggle there's gone.
Ever. It's the biggest scam ever.
I got to tell you, whoever created religion, you're some really smart motherfuckers, because they're like, listen, we're going to create a thing where it makes you feel good about yourself. You can be part of this cool club. You can feel like you belong.
It's control.
But hold on, and then, but there's no way to disprove it.
Well,
and that's the only way to disprove it is if you die and come back, and that ain't happening.
It's all about control, right? And
sure.
It's about maintaining. Religion served its purpose.
Controlling money.
And controlling people. Controlling money and controlling people.
Now,
society was built around religion.
But hold on, let me ask you a question. Back in the day, back
in the day, I'm saying is that everything that happened, was based around and supported by. It was their government.
What was the first year of the Pope?
Oh, that would have been.
In the 1500s?
No. Back in probably about the 500s around there.
Oh,
really? The Council of Nicaea, yeah.
All right. So somebody got together and said, if we can create this whole big fucking guy in the sky deal, and we can control people, because if you do bad things, the guy in the sky's mad, and you're going to go down below to the bad place, and we can control people, and we can take them out a few of their shecklings around here too.
Absolutely.
We can keep a roof over our head. We can be considered royalty because we're the men of these. We are closer to this guy upstairs than any of you motherfuckers are.
Yep.
Well, the laws were
Neo
designed.
Mount plays your $20 bill.
They were designed to control how property was, to suppress women and control how property transferred. And if there were no surviving heirs, guess where that property went?
To the church.
That's why Catholic went to the church.
That's why Catholic priests aren't allowed to get married and nuns aren't allowed to get married. So all their property goes to the Catholic Church. But even before that, talk about civilization, we talk about Mesopotamia, and you talk about the Hammurabi Code, all that predates Christianity. That all predates.
No, I wasn't saying it was the origins of society. I was saying it was their government. It was society. Every rule, every law had
what kind
some
of religion
sort of
did the
religious
fucking
basis
cavemen
for
have?
it.
What kind of religion did the cavemen have?
They had the religion of we need to survive day to day.
We need this other caveman to come over and whip my fucking ass and take my furs.
They had individualism, staunch staunch, rigid individualism and biological drive
they weren't
to
worried
continue
about
their
some
own
dude
bloodline.
upstairs fucking thinking whether they fuck their fellow caveman's wife and shit.
That was the last of their worries. And if you read, there's a great book called *Sapiens* that explains all this. And they used to, when we were tribal people and hunter gatherers, like everybody in the tribe would have sex with every woman. They didn't know how children were reproduced, and the whole tribe would raise each kid.
So they'd be like, "Ma, it might be Fred's guy, but it might be Brent's guy, but it might be Brian's guy because we all fucked this bitch."
But they thought it was could have been a combination.
So they didn't really know that their sperm was making her pregnant, right?
Yeah.
They just all of a sudden knew she got fat and popped out a kid.
Yeah, and they thought that maybe it took all of them to get each woman pregnant.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's what.
We need to go back to that.
That's where gangbangs came from.
Yeah, exactly.
The caveman invented gangbangs.
Exactly. And you know
but like are you, Brent, have you read it like within *Sapiens* and some of your reading, and you too, Brian, on this? Like, were cavemen really like? Would they go over? Like, let's say I'm in cave over here, and Brent, you're cave over there, and I'm a little bit more. And Coco's in the third cave down, and he's fucking mad as shit at us, and we pissed him off. Does he come over and just beat us over the fucking head and take our shit?
And that happened. And, you know, we had two. Yeah, it did.
Unless I get with you and say, "Hey, Brent Caveman, together we can whip this Coco Caveman's ass."
Right.
Otherwise, you and I are done.
Yes. And we had two strands of humans, which were, you know, what became Homo sapiens and Neanderthals. Now, Neanderthals went extinct because the Homo sapiens overtook them and overpowered them. So
out-intellected them.
Yeah. And out-intellected them. Absolutely.
Yeah, they could outsmart them.
Yeah. They outsmarted them. And their grain, and Homo sapiens' grain grew bigger, and that's what we are today.
Which were the ones that got beat?
Neanderthals.
That's what I am.
Yeah. You know, I did my DNA test. I've got Neanderthal in my DNA.
You know what? I did mine too, and I'm 41% German.
That's awesome.
I don't want to do mine.
I did mine. I am...
Blitz said what I was. I got my report right here.
I'm 85% Irish, English, Scottish, Welsh, and 15% Norway. So.
I'm adopted, and I don't want...
that's right.
Strange or family members come and look into me. So I won't do
I found out a family secret in mine. It was crazy.
And
I don't want any part of that.
Did your mom? Did she step out on Charles?
No. Well, that's Charles isn't my biological father anyway.
Oh, you're right.
So no.
No. Did that ever end up being a problem when you were a kid? Like you gave him that "you're not my real dad" shit?
No, not really.
Because he whipped you.
No, not really. But you know what came out?
Did Charles ever whip your ass?
Yeah, of course. I was a bad kid.
You were bad. I mean,
I was a bad
wasn't
kid.
your brother far better kid than you?
Oh, my brother was like
an angel,
straight A star, the captain of the football team. He was like everything that I wasn't.
And you were, going to heavy metal concerts, getting high, trying to fuck middle school bitches,
hanging out with Coco.
Anyway, I am 98.2% European.
Yep.
I'm 41.8% German.
Right.
31.8% English.
Nice.
14% French. 7.5% Scandinavian. 1.7% Polish. 1.5% Italian. And I'm 1.8% Arab.
I love it. Love it. That's a good mix.
And then, like, if you take your mom's Blitz, I don't know if Blitz is available or not. But he was telling me something like there's some kind of monochronological. If you take your mother's gene and it breaks it down, it can really tell you where the fuck you're from. And I'm from Africa.
Mitochondrial DNA. Yeah. So yeah, I'm from
mother's condos. I'm from about my mother's condo and her DNA.
If you guys look at the camera, I'm gonna circle it where I'm from, the part of Africa that I'm from, and you can tell me. Let me show you on the camera here. It's gonna be a while, but this is gonna show you where what part of Africa I'm from, right there.
The whole central part.
Well, I mean,
like that's the whole central part.
Sub-Saharan?
Yeah,
I don't think so.
Okay, Brian, I'm sorry, my DNA sub-Saharan.
I just with the lineage that you laid out, the odds of you being from sub-Saharan Africa.
I am a motherfucking dirty sub-Saharan. Okay.
No, I think more likely, like they're talking about where you started. Mesopotamia makes sense because that's where life, as we know it, really started to flourish. But but to say that you would be sub-Saharan African is
aren't those parts of Africa pretty rough?
Yeah, as we sit here today, yes, definitely.
Like, would you take a trip, Brent? What's one of the countries over there?
Chad, Zimbabwe, Chad.
Okay, so Brent, I said, hey, you and Caitlin have a 5-day trip to Zimbabwe.
0. I'm not going. You know what? I'll tell you one better. In 1998, when I was working for Thunder,
before you worked for me in 2000.
Yeah, and our studios touched yours. They wanted to send Ron Diaz and I to South Africa to do a live broadcast from Cape Town. And I got into it with Ted, and I was like, I'm not going to Africa. No fucking way. And they were like, oh, what are you worried about? It's safe, it's safe, it's safe. And then the next week you see like there's a car bombing at a pizza shop in Cape Town. I'm like, they are #1 in the world for carjackings, and you want to send us there?
In South Africa?
And no way.
How's the chicks though?
They're super hot.
Yeah, they are. That's
super
true.
Sweet.
That's what almost got you over there, Hallie, with the horse.
Yeah, but the car bombings and the carjackings.
The
I
au
was like,
pairs there. My neighbor's got an au pair from South Africa.
Oh, is he blasting her?
No.
Oh.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Me and Brent and Blitz tried to blast all of our au pairs, and we're going to tell you about it.
Nene. Oh,
she had the chugs.
Oh, my God.
Remember fucking Coco used car bombs over Baghdad?
Oh, my God. She had huge chugs.
Oddly enough, Brian, we didn't fuck any of our nannies, but we tried.
Yeah.
Every one of them.
Oddly enough, you tried?
Yeah, we tried. Especially Coco. He was a straight nasty about it.
Yeah, you couldn't help yourself. I mean, Nene was.
I think Blitz might have gotten the one.
The blonde?
The blonde, Tina, I think.
Yeah, she wasn't as hot as Nene, though. Oh, my God.
Oh, yeah. I think Nene's had 2 kids since then.
Man, you just ruined my whole fire.
I know. So anyway, we're getting back. We're off the beaten path here, and that is we were originally talking about, the Supreme Court and how religious they are.
Super religious.
But here's the deal. I don't even think that you can get elected on the Supreme Court, through the nomination process if you don't come up Johnny religion, because that's what everybody wants. So until we get these congressmen and these senators that will approve who the fuck's the Supreme Court, and you put all this credence into fucking, I'm a Catholic, well, it's never going to change. Meanwhile, I mean, how many people in the Supreme Court really practice their religion, the way you're like most people?
I would say Clarence Thomas, Samuel Alito are definitely hardcore and go to church every week.
The Catholic chick too,
Amy Coney Barrett, and I think Justice Jackson, the liberal that just got on there, she's a hardcore. She used to be a Catholic, and now she's a evangelical Christian. I think she goes to church every week too.
But Brent, going to church every week is one thing. But remember when Shirley Phelps used to be on the air?
Oh yes.
Yeah, we can't even say what organization she runs. God hates a certain amount of people.
The Westboro Baptist Church.
Right.
Let's say it like that.
And Brent is very well read on the Bible. Flights football, $10. Sponge, thank you for doing this. The GDP minus 9%. We're all in recession. We are in a recession.
Yeah.
All right, but hold on.
Thank the Federal Reserve for that.
Brent, you may know the Bible better than Brian. Brian, are you very religious?
No.
Okay. So, Brent, you do know the Bible because it wasn't your mom and dad made you.
It was beat into my head.
Literally.
I made communion, and then I told my parents. I literally
Catholic?
sat. Yeah.
Catholics don't study the Bible. That's the thing.
I sat my parents down. I was like 9 years old, and I just told them, I said,
Linda, listen,
Linda, listen.
Honey, Linda.
I said, this shit is too weird for me. I said,
it is weird.
I was literally 9 years old. My parents will tell you about it. And I said, this is so weird. I said, the whole idea of communicate, you're eating the body of Christ and drinking his blood, and the chance, I said, I can't do this. Like, I'm not going to be confirmed in this church. I said, this isn't for me. This is just not me. And so they let me start.
Were they cool?
Yeah, they were cool about it. They let me start staying home alone. And
that's
so
when you started jacking off.
Right.
Then, well, I was 9, but yeah, not then. But
I started like.
But then my older brother was like, well, if he's not doing it, I'm not doing it. And then eventually, nobody in my family went to church anymore.
But Brent, as you are very well read on the Bible, and you think it's all nonsense, but really, the Shirley Phelps and the what's it called?
The Westboro Baptist Church.
Right. Many times Brent would say to me, she actually interprets the Bible as radical as people think that she is. She's really only the way the Bible is written, the Old Testament and stuff.
And the New Testament.
And the New Testament, she follows it to a T, does
she
not?
She does, to the letter. And
if you follow the Bible to the letter, it's disturbing.
It really is.
It's not fair. It's not today's society. Nothing.
Right. And what I say is all the time is, if the fundamentalists in your religion are the worst part of your religion, then that means the fundamentals of your religion are bad.
Yeah.
No, for real.
That's that's perfect. That's a perfect way to put it.
People are like, oh, those are just the fundamentalists. I go, yeah, they're practicing your fundamentals, buddy.
They're practicing,
right.
Yeah.
So if the fundamentalists are practicing your fundamentals and they're the ones that are fucked up, then how fucked up are your fundamentals?
Correct. Right. Yeah. I mean,
Shirley Phelps, this woman that is fucking a lunatic, but she follows the Bible to the T, and she is so fringe and so not publicly accepted. and so not cool. Like you could never, none of her shit flies in today's society.
Nope.
But everybody wants to say that they're religious, including our highest court of the land.
Yeah, and she follows it to a T. And you know what? The one time that we got her, of all the times that we had her on, it's the time that she was in studio and she brought her 24-year-old daughter, Rebecca was her name.
She hot?
Yeah, she was pretty cute. And
remember you sized up to her jugs.
Yeah, and then I said to Shirley, I was like, true or false? It says in the Bible is a commandment from God to be fruitful and multiply. True or false? And she's like, no, that's absolutely true. I was like, then how come you're having your daughter here who's a virgin disobey a direct commandment from God? That's what we got her on.
Did she
was she
mad at you?
Yeah, and she locked up because she didn't have an answer for that. Because she admitted it was a commandment from God.
Yeah,
she knew it's in the
She should
Bible.
have had kids already.
She was like, it says be fruitful and multiply, but my daughter's a virgin and I'm keeping her from having sex. So you're telling her to disobey a direct commandment from God. And that's what got her. Not any of our other arguments, which is, the Bible's not real. None of that worked.
No, you can't do that. You got to catch them on a technicality.
What worked was catching them on their own stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
That was the only time we got her.
We totally had her number.
Yeah.
I mean, it was almost like we were pro wrestling.
Oh, totally.
Brent would call, listen, this is how the conversation would call. Brent would go, Shirley, Brent, hey, Brent, listen, you're protesting a soldier out of Jacksonville tomorrow. Yes, we are, Brent. Listen. How about Bubba gives you, 15, 20 minutes of just straight Shirley time. We'll be able to report back to the media. We'll get some press out of it. You'll get some press out of it. And at the end of the day, that the soldier's able to be laid to rest without your nonsense. And we'll give you 15 straight minutes of your nonsense. And she would take the deal every time, wouldn't she?
Every single time.
And we would get press for it. We saved the day. And she'd just get on there and spew her nonsense. But but Brent, you guys were like almost like the Coyote and the Roadrunner where you guys were working together, were you not?
It was. We were working pro wrestling style.
She'd even call Brent up. It's like, Brent, yeah, well, there's a soldier that died in Brandon. We're supposed to be down there in 2 weeks. What are you going to do about it? We're going to be like, well, what day you want to be on, Shirley?
The only one she didn't take is when we had 3 St. Petersburg police officers that were murdered in the line of duty. Not killed in the line of duty. They were murdered. And
by Hydra Lacey.
Well, two by Hydra Lacey. Remember, the other was a 15-year-old kid. The cop had forgot his vest.
Right.
And the 15-year-old kid was robbing houses, and he shot. The cop had found him in the neighborhood, and he shot that cop. But the cop had his vest in his trunk.
And it all happened like within the 7-day period.
Yeah, the same week. And they had a funeral for all 3 police officers, and we had a big bikes for badges deal to raise money for the families. And they went out there to protest this funeral, and we didn't have to say anything. I
remember. Pat McGovern and the boys had some good news for him. Remember?
Yeah, and there was citizens out there wanting to fight them.
It was that where I got married. Remember?
Yeah, it was that church.
It was that church where I got married, and they tried to show up and get cute.
Yeah,
and Bill, I think Bill Foster might have been the mayor.
You got married in a church, Bubba?
Yeah, I did.
He did.
That's a
very beautiful church. and I had to pay Brent. I had to give Brent like some weed to go there because he goes, I will not go into that place of worship, Bubba. I will be
That's
totally
a house of ill repute.
I go, Hallie, how about I give you some weed? Okay, I'll be there. But I'm not doing it because I want to. I'm doing it because you're my friend. Much like when my mom used to make me have to go to church. I don't believe any of this bullshit, but you're my friend.
But yeah, the funeral was at that church. It was huge. There was every St. Petersburg police officer was there.
Oh yeah, and they tried
that stuff. Oh
yeah, they got
Ooh.
You mean, that's why she never tried to do shit with Grady Judd, because that would last about a second with Grady Judd.
And then she called us that next week after that, calling us a bunch of brutes for the way that they got brutalized.
Yeah, she's like, I'm telling you right now, man.
You're a bunch of brutes.
Bunch of brutes, and we've never been handled so disrespectfully, and then they put their hands on us and everything.
It's hilarious.
Lucky you didn't get curbed.
Yeah, I was like, you're in a place that I don't think you understand where you are, lady.
All right, so let's bring up guns.
I love guns.
And Brent told me, we got some topics to bring up, and Brent said, just throw it to me and Brian on guns. So again, welcome to I'm Right, You're Left, and We're All Screwed. It's a kind of a hybrid political think tank amongst all 3 of us. All 3, we've all been friends for numerous years.
Decades.
We are, Brian, you're probably the most liberal. I'm probably the most right, and Brent, you're probably the most middle.
Yeah.
I mean, I would say that's probably our makeup, so to speak. I'm the most uneducated. Brent's really well-read, and Brian's a lawyer. So there you go. And so Brent told me to throw in guns. So, Hallie, I'm going to let you pontificate on guns, and then, Brian, you come in here with your craziness as well. And I just want to let you know, I love guns.
I love guns.
I fucking absolutely – there's 5 things that I like. Me and Blitz agree. Did you hear it today, Brian?
The five things that you like?
On the 5 things that I believe in politically.
No, I didn't hear that part. Uh-huh.
Check. I'm with you.
Abortions.
I'm pro-abortion.
Weed.
Pro-weed.
The wall.
I'm not for the wall.
And Blitz, are you over there? What was the 5th one?
I'm not for the wall.
But to be part of my political affiliation, Brent, you only have to have 4 or 5.
I'm with you on the first 3.
So it's guns.
Check.
Weed.
Check.
Abortion.
Check.
The wall. And one other one. There was one. Oh, the death penalty.
Check.
So that's
4 out of 5. I'm with you.
So and we qualify because Anna was 4 out of 5, and Lummy was 4 out of 5, and me and Blitz are 5 for 5, and Brent, you're 4 for 5.
I'm 4 out of 5.
In order to be a Clementarian, it's called
interesting that
Clemionism.
you support the death penalty. That you give the government that you have that much faith in the government.
I would like to put. Hold on. I would like to
properly take away somebody else's life. That's interesting to me.
I would like to.
I know it's not a libertarian position either.
Not at all.
I mean,
that's like the antithesis of libertarianism.
I would like to put an asterisk, if you will, on my death penalty stance.
What's your asterisk?
My asterisk is if there are instances of a person that absolutely 100% did it, you have DNA, you have there's no fucking absolute no wiggle room for an appeal. There's no what was that guy from Dallas? Henry Wade.
Henry Wade.
That's
yeah.
which is what Roe v. Wade's about.
Yep.
Henry Wade. Henry Wade would go arrest a black guy that was 8 miles from a scene that had nothing to do with it, that was having dinner with his wife and had 15 alibis, but they would put him on, fucking in jail for the rest of his life because he was African American.
Yep.
And a white person back in '69 in Dallas got killed.
In somewhere in the 2-mile radius of where it
But there
happens.
are instances where people that are sentenced to death, that there is absolutely. They did it.
Okay.
Timothy McVeigh.
Timothy McVeigh.
I'm all for him being killed.
Fucking yeah. Now, if there's any wiggle room and of a possible appeal or possible different scenario where it didn't happen, or there's no DNA, there's something circumstantial, then I'm not for taking that person's life.
Agreed, and that's why in Florida the penalty phase
they just changed it.
Did they change it?
They just changed it.
The jury is supposed to decide whether you get the death penalty or not.
But hold on, they just changed it, and Adam Rattlesnake Davis's death sentence has been reversed, commuted to life, because in Florida, boy, Brian, you're going to be so fucking impressed with me on this.
I already am.
Because in Florida, it used to be where it didn't have to be a
unanimous jury decision.
It could be 5-4 or 10-2, whatever the fucking makeup was. As long as the majority of the jurors, as long as it was a
majority deal,
then it was death. Now it has to be unanimous.
So it's unanimous guilt and then unanimous in the penalty phase for the death penalty.
Right.
So I am absolutely
and it
for
never
that.
used to be that way.
I'm absolutely for that, and think about some of the people we've executed in Florida. Ted Bundy. Does anybody think that he should not have been executed?
Gone.
This guy was in jail. He was a superstar. He was doing interviews. He got a woman pregnant. All this stuff. Ted Bundy absolutely deserved to be killed.
So Brian, you don't agree when there's zero wiggle room for any type of appeal. You got the guy on DNA. You got the guy admitted it. You got the guy, the guy's just, you got him. Or the girl.
I would give the person who's on trial, or going through the process, I would give them the option that they could, if the death penalty is in play.
The victim didn't have the option.
Hold on, hear me out. They can give up all of their appeals and save us the time, money, and expense, and go live a life in complete and total isolation in a government-run prison, not a private-run prison or anything like that. Or they can roll the dice and see if they win on appeal, but they're taking the chance. And I think that gives them the option then to avoid it, right? You're not. It's not the government necessarily. You have the option not to go down that road. But the problem I have with it isn't so much, one, it has no deterrent effect. Nobody who's committing a heinous act goes, I may die for this.
No, I agree. I agree with that. My thing is there has to be some retribution. Mine is purely revenge and retribution for somebody that's a murderer. That's why I'm for it.
Me too. Whatever Brett said.
I don't think it has any deterrent at all. That's statistically proven. That it has no deterrent, but that's not why I'm for it. I'm for it for retribution purposes.
I just don't like that we've gotten it wrong. We know that we've gotten it wrong in the past, and I would rather there be 50 people who deserve to die rotting in a prison somewhere rather than being dead immediately.
Kevin Curry, 23. Sorry, this overrides
That's okay.
On the Venmo, which is at the Bubba Army, Kevin Curry, 23. Brent Hatley rules.
Then one
$23.
innocent person ever die. I mean, that's
Well,
to
but
me.
we can't
That's
take that. I mean, that ship has already sailed.
so
the
we
people
know
that
we
we've
know we're
killed.
going to get it right every single time moving forward.
Moving
there's
forward,
never,
we
there's never a
have
chance
the
to get it wrong.
Bullshit. We have the technology moving forward to never get it wrong.
I'll give you another name. Dylan Roof, the guy that went into the church in South Carolina and shot 9 black people. We know he did it.
We know he did it.
We know he did it. What is the case for not killing that guy?
I mean, I guess the argument would be: was he insane? Was
Don't
he
care.
No
criminally
shit.
insane?
He's in shit.
Look, I'm saying the argument. I'm not saying that Dylan Roof should be living amongst us, right? But
I don't
also
think
don't
Dylan
think
Roof should
we
even
should
be a
waste
fucking
so
lie.
much time and resources. These people should be put to a work camp somewhere,
So they can escape and kill more people.
Not so they can escape.
What about the Parkland shooter?
What about
the Park? Hold on. What about the Parkland shooter?
Death.
Death.
That's what I'm saying.
I mean, look,
No,
I think
Brian.
if you reserve it for certain people in certain instances, it should be so extremely rare. It shouldn't be something that's available for.
All right, but hold on. So
for
you're
even
saying
a-
you
and
kind
like
of
a crime
you're
of
saying you
passion.
kind of agree on it then.
But I don't see a ton of value in it.
Well, crime of passion is usually charged at second degree.
Second degree,
or lower.
you're generally not going to. But
you just said Parkland death.
I think when you have somebody
some
who
instances,
is
you do
so
agree.
devoid of caring for human life that they have no chance whatsoever
Like Ted Bundy.
of not even rehabilitation.
Like Ted Bundy, like the guy in South Carolina who killed the 9 African American people, like the
you're gonna
motherfucking
come
Parkland.
up with like 20 or 30 people.
Okay, then, but then you know what?
Deserve it.
Okay.
Joe Karcernayev, who was the Boston bomber, he deserves the death penalty. Sheikh Rahman, who bombed the World Trade Center in 1993.
So
He's
Brian,
sitting in federal prison. He deserves
hold
death.
on, Brian,
Khalid Sheikh Mohammed, the guy behind 9/11, is still breathing air on this earth. How?
But Brian, hold on. If I'm the mediator here, I think I think that you did kind of say that there are a handful of situations where you would agree that potentially we could use a death penalty. So you're not a one.
I'm torn on it. I'm
Anna
not
is
black and white.
100%. Anna is 100% no death penalty.
No, I'm not black and white
The
on
guy
it.
that killed the black people, he gets life in prison. Sheikh Fred Mohammed.
Yeah.
Gets,
Khalid Sheikh Mohammed, the mastermind of 9/11, 3,000 Americans dead on that day. Never mind the ripple effect that it had. That guy is still breathing air on this earth.
Why is that, Brian? Why is that?
He hasn't even been tried yet. We're just holding him in Guantanamo.
Why?
He should have already gone to federal trial, already been given the death penalty.
20 years ago.
At the time, he was probably worth more to us alive than dead. But now I can't see him having much worth to us. I don't know why.
But you
hasn't been.
You did say.
No, there are. No, look, I'm not taking this position. I just think it is so exceptional. It needs to be beyond just, you killed a person. It has to be these types of mass killings,
Serial killers,
absolute depravity.
Yes.
With 100% evidence.
And total depravity.
With 100% evidence.
We all kind of agree on that, Brian. I mean, I'm like, listen, man, if there's any wiggle room for any type of appeal and there's not DNA and there's a fucking whodunit, no. Appeal that motherfucker, and if you still find him guilty, that person stays life
without parole.
Rupert Lips, 1999, and a bitch ain't one. But when you get stuff like the South Carolina shooter and the guy from 9/11 and the Parkland guy, even a guy like you, one of the most liberal, you said, yeah, in some very, very Timothy McVeigh, in some very, very few instances, even a guy like you would agree. Perhaps we should kill somebody.
Adam Lanza, the Sandy Hook killer, this guy that just shot up the school in Uvalde, Texas. Like, they're killing children. These people deserve
I think maybe
death.
we could even subsect it into school shootings.
I think for the
shooters
most part,
deserve death.
You're gonna, those guys are gonna be included in the mass.
See, I think
in the groups that would be eligible for it.
What I'm saying is, though, but you can even get even some very liberal people that say in those instances, I'm for it.
Yeah, 100%, because those people are never going to contribute anything to society, and they need to be paid back. And they need to be paid back for what they did.
So on Clemionism, on the 5 points, Hatley, you're into 4?
I'm 4 out of 5.
How about you, Brian? Abortion, guns, weed, wall, death penalty.
Not huge on the wall. Weed, I think all drugs should be legal.
All right, so one out of five. Okay,
death penalty. Again, it's not just black and white with me though. It's.
Can I give you a point? Can I give you a 0.5 on that? Can I give you a 0.5 on that?
A 0.5 on what?
Death penalty.
No, like Hatley's 4 out of 5. Blitz is 5 for 5. I'm 5 for 5. Anna's 4 for 5. Lummy's 4 for 5.
Yeah, I'd
Hatley's
say 3. Guns with some level of restriction. I'm not for taking. I think individual gun ownership is okay.
I'm going to put your score down here. Abortion.
100%.
You okay? So you're that's a full point.
Now I will say this.
Hold on, I'm doing the scores.
I don't think there should be voluntary abortions at 24 weeks.
Listen to me.
Not that anybody's doing that, but I think there. I don't think it. But see, that's the thing. There's nuance, right? It's not. It's not a free for all.
We're just scoring your fucking to see where you score in the communism fucking deal, okay? And I'm going to give you a 0.5 on guns, not a full point on guns.
Yeah.
3. I'm going to give you a weed. I'm giving you a full point.
Full point.
The wall. What am I giving you? 0. 0 on the wall?
Not on the wall, but I believe that you have to have.
Hatley got 0 on the wall.
A quarter of a point you can give me on that. Not a wall. Not a wall. But
Big E, 73, 75,
having
20 on the
maintaining
stars.
some level of borders.
All right, I'm going to give you a 0.25 on
essential to a country.
Hatley, you're 0 on
I'm
the
0
wall.
on that. You would end that problem. One solution ends that problem. The war, end the war on drugs. You end.
Yeah,
end that whole problem.
Right.
And that's.
And then the death penalty.
Tied.
Can I give you a 0.25 or a 0.5 on that?
You give me a 0.25 on that.
All right. So where you got? Let me see. That's 1, 2, 3. You're a 3.5.
I was like, you're at a 7, Brian.
I mean, 4 is a qualifier. You're at a 3.5. You're almost communist.
I'm almost a communist.
And you know what you're going by when you go. You got to be 4 out of 5. Ronald Reagan is he won 49 states in 1984.
What state did he not win?
Minnesota.
What a bunch of dildos.
Well, that's where Mondale was from.
And he still got close.
Yeah, it was like 5 points.
Yeah,
that's where his opponent was from.
Yeah, he won 49 states, and the reason he won 49 states was he used to say, if we agree 80%, we agree, and he figured out a way that he could agree with almost everybody in America on something, and the tone that he used. He was able. I don't think we'll ever see another politician that's take his policies aside. You may or may not agree with his policies, but I don't think you'll ever see another politician as good at bringing people together as Ronald Reagan.
Well, he was a great communicator. He was an actor, and he had a bunch of great people that worked for him.
Close second was Clinton.
Clinton was pretty divisive.
But I mean, hold on.
He got some bipartisan stuff done.
But hold on. He won in 1992. He won 43% of the vote.
Right, there was a major third-party candidate.
Ross Perot.
There was a major third-party candidate.
Read my lips.
Oh, wait, come on there, Brian. Party with me.
Brent, who would you rather party with?
Roger Carper, 25 on the Venmo, at the Bubba.
Ronald, I'd rather party with Ronald Reagan, because you know those Hollywood parties he was going to?
No, I'd rather party with Bill Clinton.
Oh, wait, come on, Bubba.
I've talked to John Morgan
You're
personally.
going to Epstein Island with him?
Yeah, I am. I'm just IDing the bitches.
Have you been?
If you were on Epstein Island and you only messed around with girls that were of age, legal, you would have no problems, would you?
Well, some of those girls weren't there completely willfully.
That's the other problem.
All right, so if you sit down,
you have some consent issues you've got to consider.
All right, Brian, you play Ron. I want you to play 19-year-old Rhonda, okay? Hello, and you're at my hut.
Welcome to Culver's. Can I take your order?
No. Okay.
Got him.
So, I'm in my bedroom over there at Epstein Island, and Jeff sends you down to my room. Okay.
Oh, so okay. I'm a 19-year-old girl coming down to you.
Yeah. Well, Brett, I'm thinking that's kind of how. I think Epstein dispatched him out to the boys.
He absolutely was doing
all right.
that.
So you've been sent down to my hut, my little my cabana. Oh, hi, Rhonda. How you doing?
Hi.
So first of all, are you over 18?
Barely, and I don't want to be here.
Oh,
I'm a little scared.
Oh shit. Okay, but you're. Oh god damn! Look at those titties. Okay. Well, I don't want to do anything that you don't want to do. So if you just want to hang out, I got some good weed here, and I think weed's legal here in Epstein Island. So you want to get high and pass out? So
sure.
I don't do bad things.
Sure.
And Hatley, I think if you got high with Rhonda and passed out, I don't think you'd be in trouble.
I don't think you would be. If you could
like
prove
Mr.
that.
Clem, but if Rhonda said, "Well, I will tell you, a bunch of guys fucked me and stuff," but Mr. Clem, he asked how old I was, and I told him I was scared, and so he gave me weed and we passed out, and Mr. Clem didn't do anything. Except he snored quite heavily.
Everybody else except for Bubba the Love Sponge would be okay on that one.
Yeah.
They would go. Okay, we're charging you with contributing to the delinquency of a minor.
No, they're going to charge you with capital.
In this case, you said your office deemed it a crime, but in fact, a jury determined that it wasn't a crime. Correct?
Well,
he can't even admit this.
we can get very philosophical
I'm
if you
sure
choose to. The jury verdict says not guilty.
Yes, sir.
It doesn't say innocent.
You know, I watch all those court shows and all that shit, and I don't think I've seen it one time yet where it says, you know what? When they're arresting you and cops, they put on the screen, you know, I don't think they say you're guilty until we're proven innocent.
No, they do not say that.
I don't think I've ever seen that in my entire life. These
do not say
suspects
that.
are guilty until they can prove themselves innocent.
So, Mr. Ober, your office failed in its job and its duty to convict Mr. Clem of a crime that you accused him of committing, correct?
That's the question.
Mm-hmm.
That's the question, right
Craig Herring
there.
wasn't a pussy. That's what he should have said.
Well,
I called him a pussy.
Yeah, but he got him in a position, a compromised position that showed that he wasn't even willing to admit something that was pretty easy to admit. It showed he showed the bias. He didn't need to go any further, and a juror saw that. The jurors saw that.
So you think that was brilliant?
I'm saying it was enough. It wasn't going to be. I know it mattered. It mattered a lot more to you than it would have to the jurors.
Could you have showed restraint?
Probably not.
meaning that with the follow-up question that you just said, would you have been able to bite your tongue and said, you know what he just said is enough, or would you have said what you said? Your office failed. What did you just say?
Your office failed in choosing to and trying to convict Mr. Clem of this crime. Then correct?
There's no other answer than correct. I mean,
you would say, well, we can get all philosophical here. The jury verdict didn't come back in the state's favor, but it didn't say innocent.
What a dick.
I mean, right? He could have said
No,
that,
he could.
too.
He could keep going down that road, and that's fine.
You know, we didn't quite get the ruling that we wanted from Mr. Clem. It is true that we tried to offer Hatley a fishing with no license 25 minutes before the verdict. Hey, did you know that?
Yeah.
Fishing with no pole.
Fishing with. So listen, honest to God, Kevin comes up to because Kevin wasn't my attorney.
Yep.
Norm Cannella was, but I think this was kind of broadly presented to Kevin because Kevin was the one over at Daryl Dirks' desk, and our Norm Cannella was with me, and the other guy was with Brent. Who was the other attorney who was actually pretty slinging dick?
So it was TJ. I forget his last. Dave Weisbrod was the one other attorney, the shorter bald guy.
Yeah,
that's Dave Weisbrod, and TJ Fitzgerald was the other attorney.
So I think they were over by us, and Kevin just happened to be by Dirks because I think Kevin was talking some shit to him. I really do.
Oh, Kevin was. He was talking shit to him the whole time.
And I think Dirks literally, Brian, rumor has it, and Kevin tells me that Dirks came to Kevin and said, "Hey, will you guys? Would and he was specifically talking about Brent because that was Kevin's client. Would your client accept a fishing with no license misdemeanor?
$50 fine." And he told
Kevin goes, no.
Yeah,
not a chance.
Because I don't even need to talk to my client about that. The answer is no.
Because Kevin was about to, once he gives his closing,
you can't do deals anymore.
And Kevin was about to give his closing, and he had a closing prepared like I've never seen in my life. Like that, Kevin. I wish we could find it.
I
can find it. Kevin's
closing.
I can find it.
I like to find Kevin's closing, and I like to find Jay's closing on the MJ.
Those are our those two cases are two of the best closings I've ever seen, ever, TV or in the real courtroom, ever.
And they fucked you on the MJ deal. They didn't let you be in there, remember?
No, but you know
were so mad.
But you know where I fucked them is on my testimony. John Ellis regretted calling me to the stand. I can promise you that because my boy was the Bay News 9 cameraman right behind Phil Campbell's desk. And John Ellis turns to Phil Campbell and says, "I got to get this guy off the stand." And those idiots called me to the stand, so Jay Diaco got to cross-examine me. Yeah. So our lawyers got the last word with me.
And they get to lead you.
So tactically, Brian, that's horrible. That's horrible, isn't it?
Yeah, it's bad lawyering.
Because Jay wanted Brent in there.
I was going to testify, but Phil Campbell, their side calls me, so Jay gets to do the cross.
John Ellis is a very good HOA attorney. And if you are an HOA and you have a problem with a resident in your HOA, John Ellis is your guy.
Loop and Kendrick.
If you are trying to sue somebody for
42 counts of
slander
defamation
and defamation, then maybe you go to a different expert. I mean, I don't go to a proctologist if my heart hurts. Proctologists are smart, great doctors. I'm not saying I'm not impugning him as an attorney. I'm just saying this was not their wheelhouse.
Well, but
any stretch of the imagination.
And I'm not sticking up for MJ one bit.
Oh, here we go. I want to hear this.
You want to hear this?
Yeah.
I'm not sticking up for MJ one bit, but you guys remember
I
I was his star witness when he sued Phil for malpractice or fucking whatever the shit.
Yeah.
And Phil should have told Todd Schnitt that the largest verdict in the state of Florida for something like this prior was $63,000, and that this is a very, very tough case to prove. And there's not a lot of money on this case.
Yeah, and
I mean, Brian, am I not right?
Yeah. No, I mean, even if you win, what are you going to get? What
Right.
are your damages going to be?
And Schnitt's bill with Campbell was like $1.8 million.
yeah.
Million.
And they recovered most of it.
No, hold on.
How much did
that
it-
was the lawsuit that I had to testify
Right.
for Schnitt on, and they won it all. Schnitt had to write. Phil Campbell won that.
Yeah, that's what I read in the paper, that Shoemaker, Loop, and Kendrick won
And then
that.
he had to pay Will Florin for representing him against that deal. So he had to pay Phil 1.8, and he had to write Will Florin like 600 in order to be able to try to get out of the 1.8. That's a triple fuck job, ain't it?
And he brought it all on himself like an idiot.
And you want to hear this, guys?
You want
to hear this?
Well, what do you mean?
Next March of 2023, my 10-year no-talk period's over.
Oh.
Do you remember that?
Oh, that's right.
It was 10 years.
And it seemed like such a long time when we cut that deal.
Yeah. Brian, it was 10 years that I couldn't call his wife a certain thing. And after 10 years, I can't. Now, I don't find it necessary. I'm not in the same space that I was back then, because if I was the old Bubba on March 24th, 2023, I'd be like, such and such's wife is a whore. I would.
Oh my
I'd have
God.
it for every positioning statement and everything. Just for those scoring at home, such and such's wife is a whore.
Yeah, that was that was nuts. That trial was insane.
Well,
But-
that and we didn't really get a relish in our victory because of
all.
the bullshit.
Yeah, at all.
And that was a witch hunt in itself. Brian, you were part of that. Well, I think we're getting a little off path.
Yeah, we're getting
here.
off the path. But I wanted to talk about guns really
Let's
quick.
talk about guns.
Here, and
Brian,
here-
you like guns? I love guns.
I don't.
I got a gun
love
close
them.
to me right now.
No,
I love 'em.
I don't love them. I think sometimes you need them, but I'm not a lover of guns. No. I don't love any physical object, really. I mean, it's
love your wife.
TVs are cool. She's not a physical object.
Oh,
She's
I'm
a
so
human
sorry.
being. But
I came from the Neanderthal part. Remember, you're the
Yeah.
Homo sapien.
yeah,
everybody has first of all, whether the government recognizes it or not, you have a personal right to self-protection. And that's the number one purpose of guns. The Second Amendment protects your right to keep and bear arms. Now,
as part of a well-regulated militia.
no, that's two parts.
There's a
Just
comma
like
in
that,
there.
there's a comma in
So
there.
you take out that clause and you put it together, and it's still as part. It's the individual rights as part. I'm just saying we can get philosophical.
We
here.
Let's get fucking mad.
But let's get it. Well, the courts have ruled that is two parts.
I know what the courts have ruled, but I'm saying this court, if they're being intellectually honest and consistent, that they're saying we're taking the Constitution by its strictest reading possible, right?
Yeah.
Then in its strictest reading possible, you can own a gun if you're a part of a well-regulated militia.
But that's not what it means. Just like there's 4 parts to the First Amendment, there's 2 parts to the Second Amendment. And the first part is the right to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. End of story. They do the same thing with the First Amendment. They try to make all these weird loopholes to it. When it starts off, Congress shall make no law. The right to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. It didn't say unless this, and this happens. It is for your own personal right to protect yourself. Now, when you talk about these mass shootings, everybody goes right to blaming guns. But here is something they never talk about, because Pfizer owns everybody and everything, is all these psychotropic drugs that they have been giving children, especially teenage boys. They have now done a study.
They got them all hopped up on all this shit.
These psychotropic
Soon
chemicals.
as little Johnny can't pay attention in school, then they fucking got him hopped up on Yippee-O, don't they?
Yep. And guess what? There is no scientific evidence now whatsoever that it helps with their depression, anxiety, and all the shit that they
I'm on drugs and I got all that.
Yeah, but I'm talking about teenage boys.
Oh.
And it does not help them. This is just pharmaceutical companies feeding children with drugs, and they admit that there's side effects. And when you watch the commercials, the side effects say, suicidal
thoughts and gonna shoot your school up and all that bullshit.
Don't you think that homicidal thoughts would also go along with suicidal thoughts? Of course, that's a side effect, and of course, it doesn't affect the mass majority of kids like that, but you know that there's a percentage that it's going to affect. It's not the guns. It is these feeding teenage boys whose brains are developing psychotropic drugs, and there's nothing that's going to be done about it because the FDA is a revolving door between drug companies and the FDA, the drug companies and the FDA, and they approve all these psychotropic drugs for children because giving it to adults isn't enough. They've got to expand their profit margin.
Just like they're trying to do with the vaccine.
Right. They got to expand their profit margin and give this stuff to children, which some of them with some environmental factors that go along with it. And loneliness cause these teenage males. Look at all these shooters. They're almost all 17 to 22-year-old males whose brains are developing, and they're almost all on psychotropic drugs.
I agree. It's a multifaceted problem. Where guns come into play is the ability to inflict massive, fatal damage without much accuracy. And that is the problem with these higher-powered rifles. Cavitation is a real thing. Ask any first responder who's responded to one of these mass shootings, and they will tell you that but for the type of gun and the force of the gun being used, they may have had a chance to save many of the lives that are lost, because the shooters aren't these are not trained snipers.
I'm just telling you right now, Brian, a guy could go in with a 14-round or 15-round 9mm, 2 or 3 of them, and create just as much havoc.
No, they could not. And I'm telling you right now, it would not be. And here's why. Because of cavitation, okay? The impact and the exit wound caused by these higher-powered rifles. And that's what it comes down to.
A 45 would do, if you had 2 45s with 9-round magazines.
And then two extra magazines.
2 extra magazines, you could do as much, if not worse, damage, because you get hit with a 45 round at close range. Because now we're at close range.
These kids are not bringing 45s.
We're not shooting across the football field.
They're not bringing 45s.
But what I'm saying is, they're
easier to conceal.
They're easier to conceal, exactly. And what I'm saying is, you could ban what people are calling "quote unquote" assault weapons, or AR-15s that shoot 223 rounds. You could ban those, but what they're going to do is they're going to get 45s and go in there with 2 45s with magazines in their cargo pants. That's easier to conceal, and at close range in a classroom, you don't need a weapon that can hit 500 yards. You need a weapon that's at 50. That'll cover the whole classroom. Hold on, Brian. Anytime a 45 round hits somebody at that range, you're done.
Okay,
cavitation aside.
But Brian, I think fundamentally, if I can say something, I think that we need to fix this problem. I think what type of firearm they use inside the classroom is the last problem. We need to fix the problem before they get in the fucking classroom.
I agree. It is a holistic issue. When you have a problem that is not just, it's nuanced. It isn't just one solution to this issue. Even the pharmaceutical side of it is multifaceted. And the issue with these kids and how they're being monitored or not monitored, how they're slipping through the cracks.
They're not being treated for trauma.
Every single one of these kids has something in common. Everybody knew they were a fucking problem. Everybody around them knew that they were a ticking time bomb waiting to explode, and nothing was done to prevent them from doing what they did.
Because there's no access to mental health care. Because
that's part of the problem.
Because almost no insurance company covers mental health care.
That's where we've dropped the ball. We have dropped the ball.
Mental health care in this country has been replaced by the prison industrial complex.
Correct.
And that's the problem. And so when I'm saying this is multifaceted, you got to get to the prisons. You got to get to the mental health side, the pharmaceutical side. And yes, when is a good chance to take out a shooter? When he's reloading, right? So if you have to reload more often, there is more opportunity for you to be taken out and do less damage. That's what I'm saying.
I don't think we can argue this point.
If the Las Vegas sniper didn't have a high-powered rifle, he ain't killing all those people with a 45.
In that instance, you're you're right. In that instance, you're right. But I'm just saying
it matters.
The problem isn't,
and it's psychological in this country. When you say that something is completely off limits from solving the problem, then you're you're creating the culture of the culture for murder in this country is greater than it is in most other countries.
But hold on. But
again,
that's also video games and
guns.
shit like that.
But
it's not love affair of guns.
It's not just gun. Well, that's not why.
Because they're sacrosanct.
It's the love affair of violence.
It's the love affair of violence. Exactly. We are fed in this country versus when you look at this country versus Europe and talking about the way things are
reported
and reported and told to us. We are told over and over that sex is a bad thing and violence is a good thing.
Right.
Violence. Your children are allowed to watch violence all day long, but as soon as they see anything sexual, everybody flips out. It is the opposite in Europe, the way they raise their children. They raise their children that sex is not a big deal. It's a natural part of life. And violence is a bad thing.
Well, we know wherever you have sexual puritanism, you have higher levels of violence, especially violence towards women.
And sexual repression leads directly to violence. And we have a sexually repressed open society here.
Brian,
it's a powder keg.
I feel like guns almost as adamant as you feel about the death penalty. When you open up and said, do you want to give the government, when you give them that much power? Well, I do the same with guns, and the fact that with the Second Amendment doesn't specifically say that I should have the right to bear arms, and when you
be infringed.
When you give the government the right to pick and choose what type of arms I can bear within reason.
Okay,
I mean, I can't.
Hold on. Shall not be
on.
infringed. Should you be able to have a nuke?
Well,
you didn't.
Hold on, it's an armament.
You didn't let me finish.
I don't see anything in what Brent quoted from so there are limits.
There are limits when it comes to weapons that are used in military, type deal. We can't have. Listen, not every guy can have a fucking Black Hawk.
It's not what the Constitution says. It's not what if you're going to be a constitutionalist on this issue and say that the Second Amendment can't be touched, then every American has a right to own a nuclear weapon.
No, they don't, because they should not be able to own the plutonium.
Okay, so every American should be able to have a rocket-propelled grenade launcher. Every American should be able to own a tank.
A friend of mine, he's passed away now, but he had an M203, which is the grenade launching attachment to an AR, to M16. You should absolutely be allowed to have that.
But there is nothing in the Second Amendment that says that, if it's a highly volatile substance, then you can't own it. I'm just saying, it's an absurd position, and I get that.
There's a regulation on plutonium.
But that's not... Let me talk. I'm going to turn your fucking mic off. You're getting too below.
If that conflicts with the Second Amendment, then it's trumped.
Blitz, there are regulations in store. Blitz has some guns that the average guy can't own, and it's properly you got proper paperwork, and he has to meet with people and show this kind of shit. So, but
I don't think you should have to do that.
That's my point. Is Brent's position is there should be no regulation on guns whatsoever.
I agree.
No background checks.
I agree. And if a guy wants to have a fucking grenade launcher and he can get one,
a guy who's been convicted of domestic violence 5 times should be able to go out and get a gun.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Well, if he's been convicted of domestic violence 5 times, why is he walking the street at this point?
Right. That goes back to how fucking soft we are on criminals.
Let's say he's served his time.
That goes back to Lori Lightfoot days.
Let's say hold on. Let's say he hasn't been convicted. Let's say his wife has gotten 2 restraining orders against him. Okay, and he's awaiting trial. He can go out and get a gun. Now, if he's out on bail, that may be a condition against his bail. But my point being is you don't think there should be any regulation whatsoever on any individual's right or access to a gun.
Yeah, I think that your right to protect yourself is an absolute right, whether the government recognizes it or not.
Should a 13-year-old boy be able to go out and purchase a gun?
No, I think that there's things for adults and things for children.
That's like saying that. Well, hold on. That's like saying a 14-year-old kid should be able to go out and drive. He can't. Within our society,
there's no constitutional right to driving. And that's been established in case law.
And I don't even think you should have to have a driver's license. What do you think about that?
Well, I think you should. But anyway, that was fringe. But
the same.
I mean, you know what, Brian? And really, if you think about it, 12-year-old boy should be able to own a gun.
No, not own. Go out and purchase one himself.
No. No, I think just like you have to be 18 to purchase alcohol, or 21 to purchase alcohol, and 18 to do everything.
Well, now you're putting limitations on gun ownership.
But if a dad would buy a gun for his 12-year-old son and teach him how to shoot, like a lot of dads do, I bought my kid a 22, a Walther PK 22, took him to the gun range, taught him how to shoot it when he was 7.
I was taught about guns in Mississippi when I was very, very young.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with that.
And again,
they should be able to take him to school.
Bullied at school. I know. I'm just saying these are all parts of why I'm not against gun ownership. I'm not against the rights to gun ownership. I think there just needs to be sensible regulations in
with
place.
The type of gun.
First of all, if you think for a second that your gun is going to stop the U.S. government from committing tyranny against you and your family at this point in time, you're grossly mistaken.
No, I don't think that. I need my gun to stop somebody that comes into my domicile.
Yes.
To harm me or my wife or my dog. Like, that's what I need my gun for.
Yeah, me too.
Protection,
and I agree with
Brian,
that.
I don't think I'm going to be able to stop.
Brian, oddly enough, I've
cops.
had cuckoos show up here.
Yeah,
where I'm glad I had.
That's why I'm armed.
Motherfuckers better not show up here because we got a lot of guns.
That's why I'm armed.
And
we have real. Bubba and I do have real threats.
You've got real threats. And I'm not sitting here saying that you guys should not have the ability to defend yourself. And have a gun for personal protection.
But
I'm totally fine
But I
with
under
that.
the illusion that if the St. Petersburg police and the Pinellas County Sheriff show up on my door, I'm going to be able to stop them, never mind the military?
Right.
No chance. No chance. Though the police would come in there and yoke me out of there in about 2 fucking seconds.
At least you have a sensible
even if you had a grenade launcher.
It doesn't matter what I had. The St. Pete police have a trained.
They're totally militarized.
They have a trained tactical team that will.
They got a robot to come in and yoke your shit right up.
They will yoke you right the fuck out of there. And there's
even if
nothing you can do
Caitlin's
about
on the fucking Sibian, they're still going to yoke her
They're
out.
going to yoke you. Everybody's getting yoked out when the police are ready. So you think that you're going to be able to stop the Marines if they wanted to send them to get you? There's no chance.
That's what I'm saying. Is there's just
I'm not under that magical thinking, but
right.
I am under the if some crazy lunatic tries to harm me, that I will be able to defend myself because I am trained.
Guns are cool.
Because I am trained how to use a firearm.
And I don't have any problem with that.
Brian, would you shoot a gun?
Yes, I would shoot a gun. It's not plutonium.
Are you afraid of guns?
It's not kryptonite.
I
have a respect for guns because I know
Do you own one?
the finality. I'm not going to discuss whether or not I own guns on the radio.
That means he does.
But I respect the finality that
Tom
a
Bean likes
bullet
guns.
can represent.
Regina likes guns.
Yeah, I mean,
know.
Your weapon is an extension of you.
Hello, you're on the air.
Yes, sir. Sorry, I didn't hear you. I was just going to comment real quick on the guns because when I was a kid, I actually got in trouble with a MAC-10, and I was going to shoot some kids that were going to jump me, and I ended up crashing my truck, and the cops found the gun, asked me why I had it, so I told them. They went and told the kids and said, hey, man, y'all better quit messing with this kid. He's literally going to kill you guys. And it's been 16 years. I haven't gotten any trouble, got my gun permit. So good and bad come from that.
So
I got questions. I got
questions too, but Hallie, I'll let you go first.
So number one, did the cop take your gun, and B, did the cop arrest you?
Hold on, Blitz. Brent, I want to start further. Where do you live? Where did this all take place?
This happened in Polk County.
Okay, Polk County. Brent, you got it like that. They wouldn't do that in New York. Fucking Karens up there.
No. I love this guy.
All right,
Polk
so
County.
go ahead, Brandon, with your question.
So one, did the cop confiscate your gun, and two, did you get arrested?
All right, here's how it went. I was sleeping in a girl's driveway. I was
how old were you?
I was 18, and I had a fake ID.
All right.
Yes, sir. And then the cop that showed up first was actually the school resource officer. He knew me from school and knew I was not a bad kid.
Right.
I just didn't put up with crap. When you picked on me, I fought back.
I love this guy.
But anyways, so what happened was my mom has a license to carry a MAC-10 and actually has all the paperwork for it, and it was her truck that I was in when I crashed. So they told her to come confiscate her gun because I was less than half a mile from my house when it happened.
Right.
Were you sleeping in your girlfriend's driveway, or did you crash? I'm a little confused.
Here's what happened. I was in the driveway of a buddy's girlfriend, and she told me I couldn't stay there because her boyfriend would be there in the morning. So I left and fell asleep as I left a half mile from my house. I hit a concrete pole.
And so when they come and get you, the truck is registered your mom. The gun was your mom's, but you were honest with the cops and said these bullies have been fucking with me, and I was going to shoot them. So,
Yes,
you
I
know,
was
the way
honest with him.
small town,
That's it.
give a guy a break, politics and police work is they give the guy a benefit of the doubt. The school resource. This is actually good copping in the fact that, the cop that worked your school knew that you were a good kid. And they fucking, they didn't hem you up. I mean, had you maybe been a different municipality, didn't know you, that you could have been, they could have put him away for a long time.
Especially since he admitted he had a weapon. He admitted that he was on his way to commit a violent act. Absolutely.
But that's good copping there.
I agree. I agree that it's good copping to not ruin his life over obviously emotional.
And then the cops go and tell the dumb fucks, hey, dumb fucks, little Billy Bob that you're fucking with? Well, we just pulled him over today with a gun that was fixing to blow your fucking head off, so I'd be fucking knocking it down a notch. And then they knock it down a notch, right?
That's how it went.
And they knocked it down a notch, and we're all happy here, right?
Exactly. The kid today, we played poker about 2 years ago, and he says, man, I can't believe you were going to kill me. I was like, I can't believe y'all were going to jump me.
Yeah.
I'm a little guy.
Hey, you know what? I respect your right to defend yourself, and I respect the fact that you stood up for yourself. That's really like, hey, look, man.
Hey, more importantly, I appreciate you watching the show, buddy.
Yeah, absolutely.
All
have
right.
when it's track meet, by the way.
Thank you, track meet. I'm right. You're left. We're screwed. Me, Brian, and Brent Hatley, kind of varying opinions on various things. We can go through. I think guns we can close out. How about drugs, Hatley?
I think there should
be. The drugs that I had written down are the psychotropic drugs that fold back into the gun issue in itself.
Yeah. So the drugs, if you just want to say, I think there again should be no drug laws at all. There should not be any no drug should be against the law. Anybody that's doing drugs is doing it of their own volition. If you harm yourself, that's on you. It is your life to do with as you wish. You do not need the government to protect you from yourself. And if we end the war on drugs, we'll end the crisis at the border, and you don't have to build a wall.
Well, what about, you
solve Central America's problems because you take away the cartel's ability to make money and have power and influence for the most part.
Hello, who's this? You're on the air.
Yo, what's up? It's Hot Carl. I have to make one comment because I have to stick up for Babyface on one thing that you guys touched on about
Babyface likes the stick-up calls. He loves them.
I'm not going to complain.
Dude, all right, so hear me out. What was the term that you used, Brian, when you said carnivorous?
Cavitation? Cavitation?
Okay, so hear me out. He is right about that, Bubba, and I don't want no bad blood, but when you compare with that gelatin body molds that they use to show human flesh, when you compare a 9mm round shot, there's a little tunnel that goes through it, and it will sometimes go penetrate through the other side. With a AR-15, and don't get me on not knowing the grain of the bullet, Willie, but they're a 5.56, right? Normally?
Yeah.
Correct.
Okay. Because of the way that the bullet, it's a rifle round, it has more black powder packed into it. And even though that they're not too different, when compared, and they have actual footage of this, man, and if I have to email you the video one time, I'll show you. But they compared it, and when the bullet passes through very, very similar scientific replications of human flesh, it causes, what was the term that you used again, Brian?
It's cavitation.
Yeah, the frickin' thing, dude, it blows like a hole.
Listen, buddy.
Bigger.
Listen, me and Brent are not arguing. Hold on, we're not arguing with you.
It clips the major arteries. It leads to people bleeding out that could otherwise be saved.
Listen, Linda. Me and Hatley and I are not arguing about the type of damage a .223 can do compared to a .556, compared to a 9, compared to a .22, compared to a .45. We're saying that the problem is before it gets to that point.
Yes.
Before any gun gets into any school, we have bigger issues that we could potentially do and rectify and take a lot of these school shootings away if we would start addressing mental health issues.
But here's the thing. Speeding causes a lot of accidents, right? But we don't not put airbags into cars because speeding is the cause. If you have things that you can do to prevent further tragedy while you try and solve a generational problem that you're never going to solve anyways, let's be honest. Things that are involved. Okay. This actually, and thank you for your call, man.
I have one more thing real quick for Brent. the one thing how Bubba's saying about stop it before it happens, and we need to figure that out.
Yeah.
You are 100% right on the sexual depravity. Back in the day when Carl, when I used to do modeling, okay, I worked with a lot of people from France and a lot of people from Spain and Europe, and they're like super liberal about sex, like talking to even kids, not in a weird way, but it's not like a fringe thing over there.
Yeah.
Now, there's a lot of people in this country, they call them incels.
Yep.
They're just dudes that can't get laid. They feel like they can't, like girls don't want anything to do with them, bro. It drives you fucking nuts. And I believe that, like 100% what you said, that is like the leading cause of people like acting like psychos in this country, bro.
It is, because if you look at all the shooters, they're in that same demographic.
They are.
And nobody talks to these guys, and they're not educated on, hey, here's how you talk to women. Here's the respect you have for women. You are going to have these feelings about women. Here's what you do. Nobody talks to boys about that. The way we raise boys in this country is ridiculous. You don't. Nobody ever talks to these kids about that. And you talk about, public schools, and I know they've taken a lot of flack lately, and private schools. Teachers see when a kid is being isolated. When a kid's being isolated,
teachers are your first and foremost. They're your frontline soldiers.
When boys are being humiliated and isolated at a very young age, when their brains are developing, they develop violent tendencies. There's a ton of study on that. There's not been one bill introduced in Congress from either side to even come close to addressing that, which is the biggest problem that we have of all.
So we should take these boys that are being called, Fs and whatever, and being picked on and stuff like that.
That's why they coined the meme. I know it's kind of inappropriate, but it's stop a shooter, use your cooter. I swear to God, dude, there's a lot of.
I've never heard of that, but I love it.
And I'll give you an extreme example in the country that's not ours. When you go to countries in the Middle East and the ones that are more religious and more sexually repressed, those are some of the most violent places in the world.
Decapitations, man. They don't play stonings. They are angry, violent men.
And because they are all.
Hey guys, thanks for
it's sexual repression. It's all sexual repression. And we need
to start fucking more and open up drugs.
Yes, and when you glorify violence and you demonize sex, you create a violent society. Do
you think though, because we're all relatively, within 15 years of each other, I think, and so I think we all kind of grew up in the age where, your mom was a school teacher.
She was,
and so we grew up in there was always a couple kids that were getting picked on and shit like that, and I was guilty of bullying people, and I got bullied a few times. Not really, I never really got bullied, but I'm just saying, like, is it still the same, or has society Karened up a little bit, or has it gotten worse with the advent now and the distribution of social media? Whereas before, if they said, "Hey, Bubba Clem's a fat ass," 5 people on the playground heard it. But now, 55,000 people can see it on Instagram.
That's the problem, is the shaming and humiliation of the kids that people see as, a little weaker. Maybe they're feminine and maybe they're on the road to coming out as being gay or something like that.
Whatever situation.
Whatever it is, they're not fitting in with the boys. The way that they are shamed and humiliated and fucked with is really fucked up, and nobody talks about them or helps them or anything.
There's really Brian. There really are no laws, are there? I mean, they have bullying laws and things like that, but you never see anybody really go through on them.
You need access to mental health.
We need to be spending on school counselors more than we need even school resource officers. I mean, the spending and the budgeting should be hand in hand. If you're going to, I hear people talk about militarizing schools to make them safer. If you want to make schools a safer place, have more mental health experts and professionals in there helping kids through the hardest part of their lives.
Where did we get off the rails on that? Like, where did we put that on the back burner? Was it 20 years ago?
We like
15?
our prisons full, man.
Yes.
It's 1980s, the war on drugs. This all goes back to that.
Well, the war on drugs started with Nixon, and really it goes back to 1934 with Harry Anslinger. But Nixon coined the term.
And then Ronnie Reagan fucking super hard sold it too.
Every single president has not ramped it up. And John Ehrlichman, who worked for Richard Nixon, his quote was this: "We started the war on drugs because we couldn't make it being black illegal, and we couldn't make opposing the Vietnam War illegal, but we knew we could put those two groups of people away for drugs." So and did we know we were lying? Yes. Ehrlichman, who worked for Nixon, said that, and every president, Bill Clinton.
Nixon,
well, you go back to the
real
the
shady
40s
fuck?
and 50s
All
with
of them
reefer
were.
madness.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
it's always been there. I'm saying when you're asking when it ramped up, and it ramped up in the late 70s, early 80s, and then really into the mid 80s.
In the mid 90s.
And then Ronnie Reagan and fucking
then-
Nancy,
and-
just say no.
Newt Gingrich and Bill Clinton with the 94 crime bill increased the war on drugs exponentially. And then
I will say this, though. Mass shootings went down because of the
they did have an assault weapons ban.
the assault weapons ban, but
more black people went to prison.
But the assault weapons ban absolutely led to a drop in mass shootings, and then the second that ban expired, we saw a gigantic tidal shift upwards in the number of mass shootings, which is why I'm saying some level of gun control is okay. Nobody was prevented from having a gun to.
But that 94 crime bill did more damage to the African American community than almost any law in our lifetime.
Well, isn't it true though? Isn't it true?
I mean,
I think what you guys may have
That and
touched
the war
on.
on
I think you guys
ramping up the war on
I
drugs
think you
and
guys-
the disparate penalties for
Hold on
crack
now.
versus cocaine.
I think you guys talked about it, and I think I've seen many documentaries on it. But isn't it true that we introduced crack to Los Angeles in '82?
1983.
Or 83?
Yep. So there was a guy named Freeway Ricky Ross, and he got on the news in Los Angeles and said, yeah, okay, so I'm a drug dealer. Where's the cocaine coming from? I don't have a boat. I don't have a plane. How's it getting here? And there was one police officer. His name was Michael Rupert. He was an LAPD officer. And he said, you know what? That's a good question. You know what? I'm going to get to the bottom of that. Where actually is it coming from? And he's the one that found that it was the CIA that introduced crack into the black neighborhoods in Los Angeles.
So they could arrest him?
Yeah, so they could arrest them.
and have money to fund their black ops
and their war on drugs.
How do you get dirty money if you're the CIA? How do you get money to go take out a leader in another country?
How do you get clean money? You get clean money that you've infused into the streets.
But dark money, the money that
CIA
they can't trace, and that because there's budgets, right? There's budget lines. The CIA has to account for every penny that they spend.
Right, but
if you're selling drugs on the street,
so they were selling drugs. Bubba, they were selling drugs. Brian's right. They were selling drugs on the streets of Los Angeles.
The CIA.
The CIA was big deals, and they were using that money to fund black ops around the world.
No, didn't the president have anything to do with this?
they all do.
I don't know if Reagan knew about that or not.
Well, he may not have known by the end. He wasn't knowing much of anything.
George W. Bush knew about it. George Bush about it, right? Wasn't he the director of the CIA?
In the 70s, he was the director of the CIA. And then
hold on. So the CIA wasn't even giving these drugs to people. They were actually selling them themselves.
Yeah, they were the supplier to.
And they would take that money to do their black ops bullshit.
And a lot of the stuff they were doing at that time was in South America against this dictator named Pinochet. They had they had all kinds of shit going on around the world, and they were funding it through this. And this one LAPD officer fucking found it. And you got to give that guy.
Dawn, a very good friend of mine, Brent, and she also trained with Rob Kahn at one time, says, have Brent move his mic so that we can see his sexy beard. Motherfucker, that came from a woman who is MMA trained, bitch. So I know.
I'll do it for Dawn. Okay.
Yes, thank you.
So,
and she's a black belt. She'll probably whip your ass.
Yeah, she would. I would like that.
Getting choked out by a hot lady is not a bad
by the way,
time.
she's got big tits, too.
Oh, I would love that.
Choked out by a black belt, big tit ass is right where you're
amazing.
signed up for, kid.
That would be amazing. So they found them doing that. Our government has done all kinds of fucked up things. Like, the guy, Jimmy Carter signed back over the Panama Canal.
Why do you do that, Brian?
He signed back over to give the Panamanian people their land back. Well, the president of Panama, we had the CIA on the backside trying to tell this president of Panama, you don't want to do that. The president of Panama that signed that deal with Jimmy Carter, boom, plane crash. Jaime Roldos, that was the president, I believe, of Peru. Boom, plane crash because he didn't fall for it. We wanted to take their resources. It is insane.
These banana republics, we went in there and just we raged terror. The reason why Central and South America, Central America is in such a bad position right now is because of what we did in the 70s and the 80s.
In the drug war, and then the crime bill of '94 ramped it up, and then Joe Biden talks Obama into, when Obama becomes president, Joe Biden talks Obama into doing it's either double or triple the amount of military gear coming back from Iraq. They start giving this to police departments for the war on drugs. That was Biden got Obama to do that. Bush was doing about $500 million worth a year. It got up to about $2.3 billion worth of military equipment going to police departments under Obama, which was a whole Joe Biden thing.
It's a good business, and it's better than leaving it for ISIS to take. But
hi, who's this? You're on the air.
Hey, it's
Not really,
Tampa.
though.
When I was growing up on the mean streets of Goshen, like bullying stopped at about 3:15. Right? And now it's 24/7.
No, that's a good point.
It's like
Social
the news
media.
cycle.
You're right, man. Well, by the time you got home, man, you didn't have to worry about getting fucked with anymore, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Luckily, I was like in the 95th percentile. I was huge. So the guys are bullying me were going to be like 2 or 3 grades ahead of me. But like, and I don't know who said it, but you're right. Like, no starting quarterback for a high school football team is going to be shooting up a school.
No, you're right. It's the guy
that's
the guy that's fucking eating lunch by himself, that's got a fucking, flock of seagulls haircut with a Misfits fucking shirt on and been made fun of. And he says, okay, motherfuckers, I'm going to go home the next day and get my fucking dad's gun and blow this whole place up.
Yeah, and that's the thing. That needs to be noticed by the adults that are in charge of these children. These are children that...
They are noticed, and when they are noticed, though, you made the point earlier, they're placed on psychotropic drugs, and that leads to terrible consequences as well.
Right.
The kid who flew his plane into the Bank of America building,
he was on drugs.
He was on acne medication, but the acne medication was like experimental, and it was so strong it was fucking with his head. It was essentially like Ritalin.
While his brain was developing, your brain is developing at that age as a male, all the way up till 25 years old.
That's why, if you know, Bubba, that's why they charge a premium on males renting cars all the way up until age 25. If you're under 25, they charge you a $25 or $50 fee, depending on the rental car company. It's because they have actuaries that say that a male brain is not able to properly function and assess risk and other sorts of factors.
My brain still, in fact, mine.
Well, some of us never do,
developed.
right? That front
Arrested development.
That front lobe there doesn't necessarily develop all the way.
I got front lobe willing.
I definitely.
Sorry, sir. We got to move on. Go
and
ahead.
Mature, but we need to, in that critical time in males' lives, we really need to be paying a lot more attention. And the answer is not. Now we have a scientific study says the answer is not giving them psychotropic drugs. That does them.
We need to give
good.
them weed.
No, we probably need to send them all to boarding school.
No, but hold on.
Keep them away from the girls.
Hold on. But let's cumulatively think about what do you do.
Okay, well we got to change this is pie in the sky, but give me my druthers.
I want to ask you and Brian.
Let's change. We need to change the whole. Our education system is still acts like we're in the industrial age. We need to change it to the digital age education. We don't need the chairs in a row and the teacher writing on a chalkboard and droning on. We need more hands-on in interaction. And the students, remember, we got a lot of social interaction when we were in school. They don't get nearly as much as we got.
Right. Yeah, they need to start changing it so that high school is more career development and life development
instead of a sentence.
It is, geometry is great, guys, for the people that fucking need it.
Not everybody needs an engineer.
Not everybody needs geometry in their life.
You're right.
Especially with the level of technology we have now.
I was trying to tell my teacher that about spelling too.
You don't need a whole lot of geometry if you got laser levels and things that are going to do the work for you.
So Brent's right in the fact that we're still like 50s technology as far as how we teach our kids.
Yeah, chairs in a row, teacher of the chalkboard. There's some labs.
So you're saying AI or or virtual?
No, what he's saying is like group learning, like breaking out into pods, not sitting down and being forced in an uncomfortable chair to sit and listen to a lecture.
Kind of like the way like Silicon Valley, the way they kind of reinvented the office space and the fact that we're going to have open spaces.
You know why they did that? Because they found that it breeds creativity.
Right.
It breeds innovation.
Yes.
Why wouldn't we stifle that in our kids these days?
So be like, hey, okay. We're going to put you in groups of 4 here, and then you know what? Here's 3 or 4 math things. You guys figure it out.
And
work together, right?
Right. And now you're not having children being isolated because when you're sitting in those rows of chairs, the weird kids at the back to the right or back to the left, he's by himself, and now you're not having kids that are isolated, and you're forcing them, and then you make them work in different groups based on different subjects, and now you're interacting with people from all walks of life, and you're also developing empathy in people. Whereas when they're showing this one kid in school, he gets shown no empathy for all this time. He doesn't show any empathy back to the same people because that's the way his brain develops.
Well, that's why in I think it's Denmark or Norway, one of the two there.
The 2 happiest countries in the world.
Private school.
By the way, hot chicks. Too.
Private school is illegal. Every student is funded at the same amount. Every student whether you go in the north, the south, the central of the country, it doesn't matter. You all have the same amount of funding. You have the same resources available to you. And the idea behind that is when you have these high-level private schools, you create that, you remove empathy. You have an us versus them mentality. They are the kids in the regular public schools or even not elite private schools are lesser than you. And you're trained that and you're taught that. And in these other countries, they know that, hey, look, you and your family may own the factory, but this kid's going to be working for you in there. Shouldn't you know how they think? Shouldn't you be connected to them in some sort of way at some point in your life?
Do you think now I know that this is a pie in the sky too, but do you think, and it's probably pretty stupid, but Brent, you and Brian, we all know that when you're part of the cool clique, like the cool clique in Warsaw, Indiana, were kind of I was kind of fringe cool clique because I was a captain of the football team with Larry Plummer, and I wrestled. So Brent, athletes automatically we didn't get fucked with, and we were kind of cool.
And we were the ones in the weight room and the bigger kids too.
Right, exactly. So, but we knew the kids. Like there was a kid named Jerry Hyde and Harold Marcelette and Gregory Thornsberry that we all fucked with. One guy was gay, and like we were just not cool to them. Do you think that in today's school, because it is such a problem, that you could get like almost a group of like the coolest people, the starting quarterback, the head cheerleader, to have like a little support group to help these kids? Or do you think that's just totally fucking pie in the sky?
No, I think that's a great idea, and I think that's a solution that you could almost start implementing by teaching. Nobody teaches the starting quarterback because now he's all of a sudden the most popular kid in school. And let's be honest, fame, when you first experience it, it needs to be explained to you. Like, it's weird, man.
Like, for instance, I've been famous.
Yeah.
And I, like Brandon the Quad. And Brent, God, you have a dog in this fight with your wife, Caitlin, who has, that. Think about how nice of an act. This isn't rah-rah for me or rah-rah for Caitlin, but it's completely opposite of what society would do. And that is most radio shows, most media outlets, most people. I mean, Hunter Law, most businesses wouldn't take a kid that's been handicapped all of his life in a wheelchair and get him laid once a year. That's the extreme one side. But you could take the starting quarterback and the richest kid in school and the head cheerleader and a couple of the muscle heads and say, guys, we're going to form this group where the cool kids identify the weird kids. And you know what? You put your arm around them at lunch and say, you know what, Johnny? You know what? You want to sit with us today? Do you know how many potential issues that could solve by just being nice to some people?
Both benefit from it. So when my ex and my father, they both taught at J.W. Mitchell High School up in Trinity.
Okay.
And
both did.
I volunteered with a program there called the Social Inclusion Club. And it's a little bit of a different level, but it took the kids that were in ESE programs, autistic, Down syndrome, and things like that. But a lot of them were highly functional kids. They had Asperger's and things like that. And it got the cool kids to volunteer because they need their college credit for volunteering and things like that too, and need that for their resume.
Service credit,
right? Service credit, and it got them to go. We put on these events and these functions, and it made them feel like they were friends, right? Like they had a social connection to them. So then at lunch, it would happen. They'd be in the lunchroom together, and rather than all the kids in ESE just being around all the kids in ESE all the time, they would go and sit over and have lunch with the football players and learn a different level of socialization that they're not used to. Everybody benefited from that program. It was a great, enriching experience.
And so
it's on a different level.
Yeah, and Bubba, I think that your idea works on multiple levels like this too. I think it also enhances and teaches empathy to the star quarterbacks to say, hey, you might be the star quarterback and you're the most popular kid
now in this life.
Yeah.
But 10 years from now, and that nerd that you fucked with is the CEO of a major corporation and you're just a washed up jock, maybe that motherfucker might help you out.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And say, you know what? The relationships you develop now and throughout your life, cultivate those relationships through empathy for other people.
I wish I would have, as I look back on some of the stupid things and mean things that I've done, and Hatley, you've been part of some of them and seen some of them. I wish
I've made my mistakes too.
And we all have. Most of mine have been public, just because I'm a very public person and I'm guilty of airing my public laundry and some of my HR issues with employees just on the air. I mean, Brent, that's what we do is we put it on the air.
Yeah.
Today, earlier, you come in and you started doing your spiel. I'm like, Brent, and I wasn't being disrespectful.
No, I know.
I'm like,
save it for the air.
Save it for the organicness for the air. So, I mean, I wish I could do things differently and have been nicer to people when I chose to be a dick to people. I think we all can say that at one time. And if you took the most influential kids, like Brian did a little bit at the Trinity deal, but you take it even a step further, and it will. That washed up jock, chances are, Brent, he's the jock of Trinity High, but he's probably not going to be a star one. He's probably not going to go to the NFL.
He's peaking there.
Yeah.
Socially peaking in high school.
I mean, what's the percentage of high school quarterbacks that actually make Power 5?
Oh my God!
Maybe 5%.
I mean, you're talking about maybe 3 quarterbacks a team, Power 5. You got 60-some teams. You got 180 guys out of all the high schools in America.
Out of how many? Out of 1 million kids. I don't know.
So he might make it to a Florida Atlantic to play quarterback.
Right. He might make it to an NAIA
and he'll still be a
Division
big
3.
fish in a small pond.
Sure.
Yeah.
And at the 20-year anniversary, he still will be the Sling and D.
Right.
But you know what? He can make a huge impact
Yep.
on the kid with the fucking, flock of seagulls haircut with the Misfits and a fucking Henry Rollins shirt on.
Yeah, and that's
And they might actually fucking have something more in common than they even know.
Well, you work on finding things. We all have things in common. And that's part of the problem is, and it's driven by our media. It's driven by our politics. It's driven by our biology. Is the dichotomy, right? Everything is us versus them. It's this or it's that. And so when you have that and you view somebody as an other rather than as a human like you, then you're able to do things that you wouldn't otherwise do to them and rationalize it and justify it. And good people can end up doing very bad things.
Oh, I know that for a
they
fact.
otherwise would never even be capable of doing. And look at the Holocaust and what went down with that. Is that the creation of the us versus them.
Yeah.
And we're seeing it in our politics in America. And it's
politics are the worst at it right now.
It's so
the worst
alarming,
ever.
though.
I mean, talk
the
about
use of the word liberal
bullying
as a slur and
or conservative as a slur or red or
whatever
blue
it may be.
or whatever
I was
you
going
are.
to get into that, or immediately calling somebody a racist because they don't agree with you on something. It's these labels. It's the creating of otherness that enables us to treat people differently than we would most.
Creating of otherness. I love it.
It is that, and it's.
I love that, Brian.
I worked at Sirius XM this last time for 6 years. So I'm there all day with. They are talk channels there from all the way to the left as you can get to all the way to the right as you can get, and everything in between. And you know what? I made it a point to be friends with the conservative talk show host and the liberal talk show host. I was
you also know how to work, kid. Let's just be honest.
He was looking for that next job.
Hatley, I know you want to be Johnny Humanitarian, but you also know how to fucking work, kid. You're this kid in 2000 that hired you and showed you how to work. Am I right?
You're right.
Am I one that am I the guy that teach you how to work?
Oh my God, yes.
Bubba, like $10.
There's a whole lot of little small nuanced things that you taught me that if I'm going to be honest, you don't always follow yourself, but it's great.
No, you're right.
It's great fucking advice because if you do follow what you say, including you, but if you do follow what you say, it does work because I made a point to be friends with, Pete Dominic and Zerlina Maxwell and Karen Hunter all on the left, and Will Cowell's my boy, our boy from way back.
Yeah.
I was good friends with Will Cowell and David Webb, and when and I made time to have lunch with Tucker Carlson when I was there. It was just. I was just
you mean Tucker made time with you?
Yeah.
I got to set you straight here, kid.
I'm talking about before he even got the 5 o'clock slot. This is when he was still doing Fox and Friends on the weekend.
You mean when he still would take my phone call?
Yeah, when he was doing Fox and Friends on the weekend.
Does Tucker attribute maybe being on our show globally as anything that may have helped him?
Oh, absolutely.
For real.
Absolutely.
The controversy with him, with what he said on here, helps him. I mean, as long as they're talking about you, then, you're in a good place.
Absolutely. I went...
Amplification, man.
I went to lunch with Tucker once, and then, Caitlin and I went to Tucker with once time, and it was just the three of us in this New York restaurant, and we had the most fascinating conversation. Like, him off the air is a lot more nuanced than he is on the air.
Well, on the air, he's selling. Selling an entertainment.
On the air,
he's doing a bit. He's doing a bit.
Hold on, he's the ultimate fucking worker. Is what he is.
He's working.
He really is.
He's working. He's doing.
Brian,
a bit.
you could work just as well if you had the forum. It's somebody to stand behind you.
The problem that I have
Bubba
with what he's engaged in, he has the right to do it, is the fact that the rubes, that a lot of the rubes that are listening to him are taking it as absolute fact.
But so here's the problem. That's
the P1s. Those are the people that are paying the bills.
No,
here's the thing. Here's the thing. Nobody has a gun held to their head made to watch Fox
Bubba
News.
Army's the same way.
Nobody's made to watch Fox News. Number one. Number two, cable news is entertainment. Tucker is an entertainer. He's not elected to anything. He has no control over anything in the government. He is an artist and an entertainer. I say the same thing about the people on MSNBC.
Ryan Kosman, $10.
And same about the people on MSNBC. They're doing a bit. They're doing a show. But the people on the
I like Chris Como.
I agree. But when that branches over to Sean Hannity coordinating with the Trump administration on their message, you're now getting away from just entertainers.
It's not any different
and news.
than what the fucking
Look,
Clinton
it happens
and Obama.
on both sides. It's that the right left is irrelevant
just happened
here.
To be happening
I'm talking
right now.
about what it's an example of it that we know happened. We can look at the text from
and can
January
I tell you
6th
something right now? Can we let the January 6th shit go?
Well, I mean, there were crimes committed, and I think
there were.
Yeah. I mean, it's on
like
video.
Okay, then let's get to it. Let's fucking get to it.
The wheels of justice turn slow.
But are they trying to grind it out
they
through
turn
the midterms?
slow when it's politically expedient too.
But I'm saying, okay,
yes, they're
Brent,
trying to grind it out.
So, Brent, on the January 6th, like I'm okay.
It's on. I mean, it's on.
Hold
video.
on. I take your word because you're very smart on this shit, and you're saying crimes happened. All right. Well, then let's get to them.
Yeah.
Let's fucking get to them because I'm tired. I'm getting borderline tired of the bullshit.
Anybody that attacked a police officer needs to have the book thrown at them.
Yeah, but what about Donald Trump? What did he do? Did he commit a crime?
So that I don't know. I mean, it's
Brian over to you.
I haven't seen evidence that he has yet.
Brian over to you.
But I don't know.
I don't think that there is enough for him to be prosecuted in a criminal court for committing a crime. I think there is enough circumstantial evidence that the public could connect the dots on their own and in the court of public opinion draw the conclusion that he had a very good idea of
Lynn
what
Bailey,
was going
20
to happen that day and did nothing to prevent it from happening.
Is that a crime? Maybe not.
I don't think he
I don't know what crime
think there's
that is,
ample evidence to convict him of anything.
Wayne Van Riper,
but I think
$20.
I think from the perspective of knowing information about what transpired, one, so that nothing like this hopefully ever happens again.
Agreed.
Right? So if you don't study and learn from the mistakes of the past, you're damned to repeat them. So learning what happened in this scenario enables us to try and prevent it from ever happening again.
I agree.
And the wheels of our democracy, we got three flats and a rim that's barely hanging on here, right? So we need to do what we can right now to protect it if this is what we want. If we want a revolution, then let's just keep going down the path that we're going down. Because that's where we're heading.
No, I agree. But like with the Trump shit, I think you guys both said it. The fact that, maybe you knew about it. He did. And did he stop it? No, not quick enough by a lot of people's standards. Was there a crime? Probably within public opinion, yes. On the books, probably not. So those that fucking broke into offices and hurt people and stole podiums and shit like that
police officer
fucking throw the absolute fucking book at them and let's get it done quickly. But as far as that, I think I would love for a congressman or a senator or whoever's on these committees to say exactly what you guys said. There were crimes committed. We're going to throw the book at the people that committed the crimes. Donald Trump's a piece of shit. We know that he knew this, this, and this, but it's not necessarily a crime. You guys form your own opinion about Don, and there you go.
Well, part of the problem was getting
here.
the information out, right? We know that the Secret Service officers deleted their text messages to cover up what they were saying, most likely because it wasn't something that they wanted to see the light of day.
That is kind of disturbing to me because there is it's called the Federal Preservation of Records Act.
Yes.
When you work for a federal agency like that, deleting any of your stuff is a crime. So those agents have now retained outside counsel.
Because they
DOJ.
claim it was during a data update transfer BS. It's BS. It's BS.
They all wipe their phones.
They wipe their phones.
And that That is a federal crime. And just so everybody's clear, those agents that did that they're not using DOJ lawyers.
Right.
They have
private
retained
lawyers.
outside lawyers, criminal defense attorneys for this. So I do think that we need to know that because we need the Secret Service to be neutral.
Right.
No, we do. I mean,
regardless, we don't know what they said.
Yeah.
If they were trashing Trump, saying, then
we need to know that.
Then we need to know that. If they were like, let him go there and get killed, see if I care, we need to know that. I mean, they take an oath to protect the president's life
their
at all
communication
costs.
is very germane to this whole situation.
It sure is. Like, we need to know, there's been allegations made that President Trump attacked a Secret Service agent. Like, we need to know if that's true or not, because through their communications, that would confirm or deny that.
We would be able to tell, hey, listen, fucking POTUS, whatever what they call the president.
They called him Mogul was his code name.
Mogul just went ape shit on Johnny
Yeah. So we need to see, or he didn't, we'd be able to tell that.
If he didn't, then we know that there were people who were telling lies, right? And we deserve in our government. We deserve this type of First of all,
one would think that if you're a Secret Service on the inner circle, then your phone is of public record.
Don't you want
absolutely.
transparency? I know this is a selected case of it, right? And we're never going to get it across the board, but this is what we really should want.
Absolutely.
We want more government hearings. We want more investigation into things. This is really
but I want him to wrap them the fuck up, and it's getting political.
But
let's get to the acts of the shit that happened,
right,
and stop making it political.
And
let's get to the real shit that happened and find out what happened. Learn how to fucking prevent it. Penalize those that had something to do with it, and stop making it a fucking political witch hunt.
And by the way, I think both Kevin McCarthy, who leads the Republicans in the House, and Nancy Pelosi, who leads the Democrats, where they messed up on this committee is denying Kevin McCarthy who he wanted to put on the committee, because I think it would be better to even listen. The Republicans, the far right Republicans, deserve their representation on this committee, no matter what you think. I mean.
No, because here's the problem with that, Brent. Because when you know that Jim Jordan, first of all, there's questions on what he knew and did and his involvement. He should not be on the committee. He should be excluded. Number one. Number two, there are certain, and they do it on both sides. Okay, so again, this is not a right or left. This is a political tact that they use. They create a sideshow circus that creates and totally takes away from the purpose that they're trying to accomplish. And I will say this, to an extent, I think they're over targeting Trump with this and his role in it. But for the most part, when you listen to these people testify, these were people that worked for Trump. These are people that participated with Trump. So to call this some political witch hunt and that it's one-sided, I think is disingenuous in this case, because the witnesses who are testifying are former leaders of the Proud Boys and Mark Meadows' right-hand woman.
Yes.
I mean, these aren't people that are all leftist and pundits and things like that. These are actual witnesses.
What would Roger Stone do? What would Roger Stone do?
He would lie and drum up as much muckraking as he could.
Well,
I love him.
He was taught by
best, Richard Nixon.
Well, who taught him was
Ronnie Reagan.
Roy M. Cohen.
Who worked for
Joseph, who worked for Joseph McCarthy from the McCarthy hearings, and he taught. And
what did he teach Raj?
Roy Cohn taught Roger Stone, Donald Trump, and Paul Manafort this number one rule: never, ever apologize, always attack.
Yep.
Oh, I like that. I used to be that way.
And
didn't work out so good.
And Roy Cohn taught them rule number 2 is do whatever you have to win, because losers don't govern and politics ain't beanbags.
Al Gore may have been president in 2000.
There's your black belt, Dawn, for $20 there,
if
Hallie.
Not for Roger
Beard's
Stone.
bringing in the money, Hallie.
Thanks, Dawn.
Al Gore may have been president if not for Roger Stone. The Brooks Brothers riot that they called was 100% orchestrated by Roger Stone and totally based on a lie. He admits it. He made the whole thing up about them cheating and doing this and that just to distract from the process, because
everybody in that riot is a Republican staffer, because somebody's broken down the film and they've identified everybody that was there.
The Brooks Brother riot was absolutely manufactured. Okay, these are the types of things that Roger Stone. But you need to know who these people are, and that's your, as an individual.
So who's the Roger Stone on the left? Who's the guy? Who's that?
Oh,
I mean, who's
So the guy
who's the not the kingmaker, but who's the
the
guy
left,
with the white hat over on the left?
Part of the problem for the left, and this is why the
they don't have a Roger
is that
Stone.
they don't have homogeneity that the right has. They
don't have a Steve Bannon who, full disclosure, is I also am familiar with and acquaintances with Steve Bannon.
They didn't have Karl Roves, these great strategic minds that are
right.
ruthless and a lot of times scrupulous.
So
was Karl Rove bad news?
Karl Rove was great for George W. Bush. After that, he lost his mojo.
Who's been the greatest of all time?
The greatest of all time, I think. I'll give you the left and the right. On the left is Paul Begala and James Carville. They are the two best political strategists ever on the left. They were Bill Clinton's guys.
James Carville, definitely, and I think Begala.
He's a better man. He's a better man.
We got ourselves a better man.
We got ourselves a better man.
But James Carville and Paul Begala as a team
on the left,
fantastic. Also, George Stephanopoulos was in that group. So on the
you know what, I like George Stephanopoulos.
Yeah, he was one of Clinton's guys. If you watch the movie The War Room, which is about the 1992 election, it's a documentary.
All right, now but the
it's
right.
Awesome. So on the right, I would say Karl Rove did a great job with getting George W. Bush elected. I mean, he had
Who was Reagan's guy?
So Reagan had a guy. His name was Brent. His name was Brent
Hatley.
Yes, Brent Hatley. No, Reagan's guy name was Brent something Croft. God, I can't remember his name.
But Ronnie was so fucking slick that he didn't even need a big time guy.
Well, have you ever been to Ronald Reagan's museum in
No, of course I haven't.
in Simi Valley? Oh my God, it's amazing. So Ronald Reagan was a spokesperson for Westinghouse for a long time.
Well, he had Lee Atwater.
Lee Atwater was one of his, and
Ed Rollins.
Brent Scowcroft was one of Ronald Reagan's guys. But you can go through there and you can put headphones on. You can hear like every year he was a politician and kind of how he did things. Oh my God, like the guy was a brilliant politician, Ronald Reagan, and he was a trained actor and
right, that's the thing.
And he was a trained spokesperson, so he was great. But on the right, I think Karl Rove's getting George W. Bush reelected in 2004 when Iraq was on fire. He did two things. Number one, he talked about bad words on the radio. That was one of his big things that got people worked up, and gay marriage, and that.
Who fucking did us in? Fred Upton?
Upton was one of them, and Karl Rove. That was a Karl Rove behind all of that FCC dust up.
Right.
Karl Rove was behind all that because he needed a
distraction
from Iraq, because remember in 2004 Iraq was a complete disaster.
Right.
I mean, it was just like the country was on fire. I mean, everything was going
literally
wrong.
and figuratively.
Yeah,
yes.
they needed anything. So he got gay marriage on the ballot in 11 states. He got the whole FCC, the Super Bowl, the
Nipplegate.
The Nipplegate. The liberals just handed him a club and said, "Beat me with it."
Well, and then they attacked John Kerry's military service, which was still to this day one of the most despicable political moves ever.
Hello,
ever,
who's this?
Ever.
I agree,
Ever.
and that's a Roy Cohn thing too, which is attack the person's strength.
Hello, who's this?
And your weakness.
Yeah.
I mean, you're turning your weakness into your strength.
You're on the air when Babyface shuts up finally. Hello.
Hello, it's Fake Alex Jones. Thanks for taking my call. I appreciate it. I love the program.
Brent, this is Fake Alex Jones. He sounds just like Alex Jones. So we call him Fake Alex Jones.
Go
Listen
ahead.
to him. Fake Alex Jones. Go ahead.
Now, I want to touch base on the mass shooting real quick.
It's pretty good. It's almost as good as Stearns.
Hold on. It's really good. That's why I fucking call him Fake Alex Jones. So Fake Alex Jones, don't do me dirty. Do good. Do good. Here we go.
Okay, so you guys touched base on a lot of things I agree with. There's a lot of things that have been pulled away from schools, which, the arts, woodshop, all this stuff are being taken away from schools. The developing minds on pharmaceutical drugs, no access to mental health facilities for these kids. Now, the elephant in the room is the FBI. You got these groomers and shooters. They go hand in hand. Now, take the Uvalde shooter, for example. On his 18th birthday, this guy had thousands of dollars that he spent on 2 AR platforms, hundreds of rounds of magazines on his 18th birthday. Now, a lot of people say, where did he get the money for that stuff? Well, a lot of people say, well, he was working at a fast food joint. Now, he only worked at that fast food joint.
Fake Alex Jones. I'm a little bit disappointed because usually by now you've come up with a couple of your rhino thing, a couple of your fake get rich. Usually you have a couple plugs.
Pill deals.
Yeah, I mean, Fake Alex Jones. Don't forget you got your whole other world that of your self promotion that you got to put in every once in a while too. Now.
Well, I'll throw it in right now. We have rhinoceros horn boner bills right now. InfoWarsStore.com. Free shipping. Coupon code Bubba. Just got to throw that out there. 8-hour erection or your money back. Again, so I really felt these FBI agents. Now, this kid was on everybody's radar. He's walking around with a bag of cats. Everybody called him the next school shooter, but he's on the radar. So where did he get the money for these AR platforms on his 18th birthday? Thousands of dollars. Where did he get it? Where did he get the knowledge on how to operate these weapons? And who was the gun dealer that decided to sell him these weapons?
All right, thanks,
I got to get going.
So if you're living at home and you're earning $400 a week working at a fast food restaurant, there's no way for you to use all that money to purchase guns
Absolutely.
over the course of a couple of months.
And
of
that
savings.
gun was purchased legally as well.
Yeah.
Right. But I'm saying, you're right. You work at, a fast food deal, and you
live at home, or you live with a family, whether it's grandma, your aunt, whoever.
No expenses.
You have no expenses.
And you rack it in $400, maybe call it $350 take home a week.
Yeah, I mean, it's perfectly conceivable that somebody could save up their money for 8 weeks and then carry out a mass shooting.
Go out and buy a couple of long rifles and let it rip.
Especially, if you're focused on that. Absolutely.
That's the other thing, though, is really the desire for conspiracy theories and conspiracy theorists.
Oh, everything
but that's a human mind thing. But your human mind makes connections. Like, we've evolved to do that.
Social media has evolved to drive us deeper and faster into that hole, and that's the problem. The whole QAnon thing is one of the biggest fucking jokes ever.
So ridiculous.
But it's still around. There's still people that think on August 20th or whatever that Donald Trump's going to be put in as president again. I mean, they
move the goalpost every time.
Every time.
Nothing comes true. And the whole HBO documentary, they prove who it is.
I mean, he admits to it.
They prove who it is. But that is
Ron Watkins.
Yeah.
Now, what about this? What
that
about
is ridiculous. But I think that those. I think that those conspiracy theories are there to distract us, because there are things that are real conspiracies. There's people that go to federal prison in this country every day for a charge called.
Hold on, me and Hadley. I mean, have I not been part of a conspiracy?
Yeah, exactly.
Have I not been part of an extortion, a shakedown, a fucking, a yippee-yo, if you will?
There's people that go to prison every day in this country for conspiracy at the state and federal level. So there are conspiracies with the shit like QAnon, which is embarrassing if you even believe that JFK Jr. is still alive. Really?
Well, how about Alex Jones, that Sandy Hook was a false flag and all those parents are crisis actors?
Well, he's about to be penny.
Right.
He's in the.
And that got, he got what coming to him on that deal. Hey, listen, we have the right to say anything we want as broadcasters, but we have to have a certain amount of onus. And if we're going to say absolute, untruthful, hurtful, then you're gonna then you're done.
He's about to be
you know what? Water seeks its own level, and Alex is about to be fucking penniless.
For real. I mean, he lost all 4 of those cases because he refused to participate in discovery. So he went straight to the penalty phase. He's in the penalty phase of that civil case, and that jury is going to clean his fucking clock.
Hi, who's this? You're on the air.
Yeah, Tampa Terry here. Got a question for Brian.
By the way, Tampa Terry's from Canada. He's not well liked very much.
He buys his milk in plastic bags.
Yeah, Brent. He's kind of he's a heel, but he's a heel, but he'll baby enough to be relevant. But he gets on everybody's nerves, but he's a heel.
And he's really smart. And if you don't believe me, ask him. He'll tell you.
And he'll tell you that he's 1-0 versus Dan Diaco.
And that is true, though. He is undefeated against Dan all time.
All right, so go ahead, Alex. I'm sorry, Tampa Terry, who lives in Canada.
Yeah, well, here's the deal. If I could get a word in edgewise here in between.
Don't start fucking with me. Don't start fucking with us, because I will hang up on you faster than your head will spin, motherfucker. You better start baby facing now. Coming down in 3, 2, 1, baby face, bitch.
Oh, okay, brother. I'm sorry. Here's the deal. So a deal that's real bad up here in Canada is the influence of corporate lobbyists and the World Economic Forum and Klaus Schwab. And I'm wondering what Brent and what the other gentleman here, the liberal gentleman here, what they think about that.
I agree with Tampa Terry 100%. It is a huge problem of this World Economic Forum, these central banks, and they're going to ruin every country, and they're going to really do the damage to Canada that they've done to us, because they want your resources and your money too, and they're going to get it. They're going to get it.
Canada's in a real bad spot right now, aren't they?
Yeah, they really are. They're in a weird spot right now because Trudeau is he is overstepping his authority in quite a few places, to say the least.
Aren't they still under British rule? Aren't they still?
Not really.
They have self-rule.
They have their own parliament. And
they
have
just
their own
recognize the monarchy still. And so it's all fucking.
It's weird.
Dog and pony
show.
All right,
last copy. But, we've gone.
So I mean, yeah. When we're talking about this, part of the problem is, like Brent said, the centralized banks are a huge issue. The recession that we just entered today with the announcement of GDP shrinkage and inflation, that's a result of of not targeting the aid that was given for the COVID relief correctly. No targeting at all. It's
None.
taking, and this is the problem that I have with
Giving
the Democratic.
Tom Brady $2.5 million.
Yeah, this is the problem I have with the Democratic
Tom Brady
Party.
got $2.5 million.
Yeah,
is if there's a fire
for his
burning
company or some bullshit.
Yep.
If there's a fire burning, their solution is to snuff it out with piles of money and just burn through it. It's like, oh, there's a fire over there. What should we do?
Money on it.
Just throw as much money as we can on it. And you know what? It will put out the fire, but
Initially.
you're also burning up fucking money stupidly that you don't need to
and you
waste.
can pay for a hose and put the fire out.
The relief, the 2008, the collapse in 2009, we could have made that so much better in terms of recovery and everything if we had given direct aid to mortgage holders who were upside down in their single family, not the guy who went out and speculated with arms on 10 different investment properties. Fuck him. He was part of the problem. That's greed.
But like the one
homeowners,
guy who owns a strip mall whose 3 main acres were restaurants are now out of business. That guy.
Yeah. And rather than giving money,
where else we didn't do anything to, the part of that collapse that you're talking about was the repeal of the Glass-Steagall Act.
Right.
And what we didn't do is what they did is they gave everybody a loan, and then they packaged those loans as investments, as AAA rated investments at that, in the terms of what's called a credit default swap. And when everybody defaulted on those balloon payments on their loans, those investments became worthless. That's where the collapse came from.
And it's going to get worse too,
yeah,
Brian.
but look at what we did with that. What did we do?
Nothing.
Hold on, but it's even worse than nothing. What we did was the absolute worst solution, and it's led us to where we are now, which is they bailed the banks out, and then the banks were able to then take over all these properties and own these properties and sell these properties up that were gobbled up by corporations. And that was the start of corporations and hedge funds getting massively into the housing market. And we need to stop that. This stops at a municipal level.
Yep.
The city of Tampa needs to pass an ordinance limiting how many houses can be rented out in a certain area, how many houses can be owned by a corporation in a certain area and a certain square mileage. Because if we do not do this, we are going. So for our entire nation's modern history, from the 1900s, 1800s, even forward, home ownership has been the number one path to building wealth, and we are eliminating. They have found a way now. The power brokers that be
bankers, the Federal Reserve have figured out how to. They get everything. They get your labor. They're going to take your land. They're getting your Social Security. They're going to fucking take it all.
Well, they take your money right now. So So one thing that I found that was interesting, and I knew that this was coming with inflation, was that it was reported that following the COVID financial relief, the average American had more in savings than at any other point in time in our modern history. And I knew they were coming for that. And how do you take it? You take it with inflation.
Yeah.
Inflation is theft.
Yes.
Because if you own the good, you don't lose money, right? If I own coffee beans, I don't...
Or gold.
Or whatever it is. If I own the product, I don't lose money in inflation in the long run because I just can adjust the price of my product.
When money's created out of thin air through fractional reserve banking, that's what creates inflation, because you flood the money supply. And when you flood the money supply, each dollar becomes worth less because it's based on a belief system. It's how much you believe it's worth. It's not based on anything. So everybody throughout human history has done better on a resource-based economy.
Are we going to be like in the era of the credit default swap? Is it going to be that bad or worse?
No, it's not going to be that bad or worse than that. That was pretty awful because, as Brent said, they pretty much opened the floodgates.
Brent's the one that told me all about that. I thought Brent was talking some stupid Hatley bullshit, and then I went and looked it up. I'm like, man, Brent's right on this one.
The real issue I have with all of this is that they have convinced the public that taxing the rich is bad. And that's the problem that we have because
taxing the rich is cool as
monetary utilization.
Now that I'm not rich,
monetary utilization. This comes from the Austrian school. Because I know you had referenced earlier.
Yes,
there's no perfect. So first of all, there's no perfect school of thought because these are all theories, and no theory plays itself out. Unbridled communism and unbridled capitalism lead to the same endpoint.
Well, unbridled communism, we saw that the like following Karl Marx to the word happened in Cambodia under Pol Pot. And that led to one of the most horrific genocides in the history of, like, the Vietnamese had to go in and stop it.
But looking at it from an economic standpoint, not from a social standpoint, it leads to the state controlling everything. unbridled capitalism leads to one
Man,
or
I
two
love when these two
companies
get at it smart as
controlling.
fuck. I'm over here
Absolutely,
over here checking
absolutely, because fascism is corporate control of the
I'm on
government.
CatonHatley.com.
So
we have an oligarchy in our country. Russia has an outward one. They make no mistakes about it.
Russia is a criminal organization. Russia is akin to the mob. It is not a country or a functioning government under any stretch of the imagination. Putin is a mob boss, and he even has a boss, a guy named Semyon Mogilevich. That is a criminal organization. Russia, the Russian Federation is not. There is no political bent to that at all. They are a crime family.
Oh, it is run like a mob. I mean, it's the exact same way. Everything flows through the family. And if you are an oligarch in Russia, you are protected. You are loyal to the boss, to Putin. And when there is regime change,
the Bubba Army is an oligarchy.
Exactly, and when there's a regime change there, you have a high risk of dying. You have a very high risk of being imprisoned or murdered.
If Blitz takes over, you guys are all fucked.
But here's the everybody in Russia's like, oh, the people are going to rise up and take Putin out. Putin's not even the boss. Think about this. He went from being the deputy mayor of St. Petersburg, Russia, to the prime minister. So he got there because somebody put him there, and the person that put him there is known as the boss of bosses.
Who's that?
His name is Semyon Mogilevich. He runs the Russian mob. All those oligarchs Brian just talked about work for him. Vladimir Putin works for him. Nobody's getting taken out because the Russian mob, you think the Italian mob is rugged? The Russian mob is something you never want to fuck with, ever in any way.
It makes Tony Soprano look like a popsicle stand?
It sure does. It sure does,
That's what somebody
man.
told me one time.
It sure does, man. The Russian mob is for real.
And so the point where, like, the mob here doesn't really control the president.
The Italian mob does not.
No, not the Italian
that's
mob.
What I'm saying.
I'm talking about our corporate mob.
No, you're right. But the mob, as we know the mob, the Italian mob,
does not. They do not control.
And in fact, there's been presidents that have targeted them, Kennedys, and all that kind of bullshit.
The Mexican mafia doesn't control the president.
Right. But now the Pfizer, fucking Purdue, now those motherfuckers, those are the mobs that are running our country.
Yeah.
But you're saying the mob that's running the Russia's old school real mob shit.
Yes, organized crime. Organized criminals is who runs Russia.
Yeah, so if you're supporting Russia against Ukraine, you're supporting mobsters murdering innocents.
That's the deal.
That's what you're supporting.
The Russian Federation is a criminal organization top to bottom. Like, nobody even knows exactly how much money Putin has. Like,
you see his house? I mean, they're saying he's worth billions.
Everybody's like, some may say maybe as much as $1 trillion.
He might be the richest man in the world.
But you don't know.
You don't know.
But so you're saying, though, that these Russian mob... Well, what was that guy's name you said?
Semyon Mogilevich.
You're saying that's the guy...
That's the guy
that Putin's afraid of.
That runs the whole shooting match. He runs the whole thing.
And so with the Ukraine deal, what are your guys' opinion on that? Like, is it ever going to stop? Are they going to be happy with these two little slivers of territory? Are they going to take out the fucking the ex-stand-up guy? Like, what?
It puts us in a tough position where we need to continue to blindly fund a defense because we can't directly get involved because we're afraid of what those crazy fuckers will do.
Yeah, well, I'm of two mindsets. So one is, this is a criminal organization that's trying to take over another country and add to their empire that was part of the Iron Curtain, and that's definitely not something that we want. Also, if you go back and talk about before there was these borders in countries called Russia and Ukraine, these are all ethnically the same people. So the last time we got involved in an ethnic conflict in Vietnam, it did not work out for us at all. So this is also, because it's white people doesn't mean it's not an ethnic conflict. It is. Ukrainians and Russians are the same DNA, the same ancestry. This is an ethnic conflict, and I don't think it's a great idea to get in the middle of these things.
This was a huge misstep by Putin and his Russian mobster friends, though, because they have galvanized. They have galvanized NATO, and they have galvanized. They've pretty much forced Finland and Sweden into membership when they have stayed out of it because of their proximity to Russia in the past. Watch videos of the Russian military ops and the Finnish military ops that they would do right at the border up there yearly.
Karelia is what the area that they fight over there.
And this has been something that's been brewing for decades now. And this action in Ukraine has forced Finland's hand. I mean, they're going to join NATO. I mean, that's...
Well, I'm glad that Finland's joining
It's
NATO.
wonderful.
The Finns are awesome.
Yeah, no, and it's great that they finally are doing it, but... But yeah, it's Brent's right. It's a tough. We can't put boots on the ground there. We can't do that.
Yeah, it's an ethnic conflict, and again, getting in the middle of ethnic conflicts is just not a good idea.
And it's not like the Ukrainian people aren't galvanized on this. We have to continue to arm. We have to continue to arm them and provide them with food and supplies.
So
and
is
whatever
Ukraine
they need.
getting some pretty badass shit from us right now on the down low?
And we need to the world, not just us. The world needs to put economic pressure on Russia.
Haven't they though?
They're trying.
No, because here's the problem: India and Pakistan have gone running to the teat for the Russian oil. So
and China.
This creates opportunity.
China.
So Putin,
yeah, they have no morals at all. None.
No, they're loyal to China and China alone.
That's
and
all they
fuck
care
everything and everybody else at all costs. If you happen to be good for them in business, then fine. But they are a psychopathic country. Like they are concerned about themselves and nobody else.
Eventually, a lot of people say that China's going to end up, with the whole shooting match. Do you guys feel that that's where we're headed?
I totally agree, and here's why. There's a great documentary. It's on PBS. I know a lot of people don't watch it because they think it's liberal, but this documentary is excellent. It's called In the Age of AI. And this documentary tells you all you need to know about what's going on in China. There are 17 companies in China that are multi-billion-dollar companies in artificial intelligence. They are building artificial intelligence for military purposes because they want to dominate the world militarily and economically, and they are working tirelessly at that every single day. It's the scariest documentary I've ever seen.
It's called what again?
It's called In the Age of AI.
It's on PBS.
It's on PBS.
Does it literally show AI taking over?
It shows you how
it's not AI taking over. It's their use of AI to optimize everything that they do.
Yes. They'll know what buttons, like the their systems will tell them exactly what to do and how to destroy us. Like TikTok is Chinese, and they are using that.
And it's brilliant, by the way.
Yeah, and they're using that to research.
TikTok's good to Caitlin now. Has it not been?
Pretty good. Actually, Twitter works better for her, but nonetheless.
Well, OnlyFans is her best.
Yeah, but TikTok though, what they're doing is they're using it as research to research the patterns of American behavior, collect data on us, all kinds of stuff. Like the Chinese and what they are up to. In fact,
are they some shady bastards?
The shadiest.
The shadiest. So
because they don't care, they're not guided by any compass. So at least I will say this: at least in America, Christianity provides.
It is an ethos.
Some level of a path for these people to go down. In China, there is none of that.
No.
I mean, Buddhism is there lightly to, whatever. But the church is the state. The state is the church in China. Whatever is best for China and the ruling party, the Communist Party, is what's best.
And that's what they're going to do, and they're going to stop at nothing. And in fact, the head of MI5 in Britain and Christopher Wray, FBI director, who was appointed by Donald Trump, they had a joint press conference the other day that said that we have utterly failed to even slow China down. I mean, the entire West.
It's not just a matter of slowing them down. We're complicit in participating in it because of technological purposes and what we perceive to be in our best interest right now.
Yeah.
That's part of the problem.
It's a huge problem. China is our biggest problem, and they are going to try to dominate the world and be the number one world superpower.
Are they going to be Japan-like and get a little fucking, little full of themselves and maybe try to come over here?
Yeah, but they're gonna be stronger than Japan's ever been.
And the next war won't be fought the same way World War II was.
No,
right?
There's going to be a lot of cyber ops, a lot of.
It's going to be closing the grid down. It's going to be cyber ops.
It's already being fought.
Electromagnetic pulse.
But it's already being fought, and it starts with the psyops. And that's what
I just want one of those dolls that you can fuck.
Well,
but see, that's the distraction, right? But guess
now.
What that doll that you can fuck does? It's now connected to the internet. It's connected to the internet, and they're spying on you.
No, they're not. I don't got internet connection on her.
Okay. If it's coming out of China, there's a chance that they're spying on you.
Do you think that we're all being spied on?
I think yes, and I think our data is
being monitored,
and our data is being collected by the Chinese government. So,
did you see a couple of years ago? I saw an article where, for the first time in the history of our world, and I think I've told you this before, Brian, for the first time in the history of our world, data was worth more than oil.
Yes,
because they sell and collect data, and it garnered more money than oil.
And the Chinese are some data mining motherfuckers, man.
Everything that they can get, and they're not spying on you because they care about you. They are spying on certain people because they want to build a dossier against them. And I think if you look around politically, the Glenn Greenwalds of the world, they have been compromised. There's no other way to describe his support of Russia. A guy who was otherwise a liberal, thoughtful individual that post Snowden has become this Russian sympathizer. It's very bizarre if you look at Glenn Greenwald and his path.
He blocked me on Twitter for pointing that out.
I mean, it's undeniable.
Yeah.
He is a Russia apologist. Why? Because they built a dossier on him. They have enough to break him and his family. And so the people who matter are going to have that done. But you're going to be mined for your behaviors, right?
Yep.
How can this, okay, we have your demographics. You're this old of a male. You do this for a living. You're giving them all this information when you set up your products, by the way. They know all of this about you by your search history and everything. And so they're saying, how do we impact this individual? How do we convince them that their government's lying to them?
Yeah.
And how do we destabilize the American political system?
And how do we use an algorithm to move public opinion in America in a way that we want?
Right, and that's where the AI comes in, because these bots, and that's Elon Musk's, this Twitter purchase thing is going to be fascinating.
Yeah,
because
Musk is right. He is right about
Musk
this.
is absolutely right. 80% of the traffic on Twitter is driven by bots.
Has he got himself into a trick bag now where he's going to overpay for some shit?
No, I think Twitter's got themselves into a trick bag because he's going to
sell your Twitter stock right now.
He's going to pull a reverse Zabida and
he's going to say, "Let me show you the good news."
He's going to prove in court that he's right and that Twitter's overvalued and overinflated, and he's going to get it for pennies on the dollar.
Well, and so could the ruling, Brian, be where, like, could this come back if they try to sue him and be like, you know what?
Well, they are suing him. The trial's
They're
not
suing
over.
him, and
he's going to fuck him.
Well, the the trial ain't happening in October, by the way. There's no way that they get the discovery done that they need in that amount of time. There's
I know what you're saying, but this judge seems pretty adamant.
Well, then the truth isn't going to come out. That's the problem. If they're forcing him to trial in October, then it's to protect Twitter. Because the longer this trial takes, the better it is for Elon Musk.
I think Musk has good enough attorneys that he'll be able to get continuances, but this judge is being pretty fucking stiff, to be honest.
Because what I think real discovery would show is that not only is Twitter aware that 40 to 50% of the Twitter users are not real people, they are aware that AI is driving a lot of the interaction. They're aware that China and Russia are driving a lot of the interactions, and they're driving it on the most politically hot topic button issues that you can get on: transgendered issues, critical race theory issues.
Getting out of Afghanistan.
All of this is being driven.
Afghanistan, remember
exactly.
that?
Twitter is indifferent to it because they have to, because as a corporation, you have to be. Now, this is where it gets interesting, is because their long-term viability. At the end of the day, the corporation has to protect its investors. And if they knew that there could be criminal charges against the people that run Twitter over this.
For real?
Yes, absolutely.
So talk about the ultimate turnaround, right?
I think Musk was hoping that they sued.
Yeah, they fell for the banana in the tailpipe.
I think that guy
Not only that, he manipulated the
brilliant.
stock on them. He manipulated the stock on them, and then was hoping that they'd turn around and sue. He made billions of dollars off of playing their stock and his friends playing their stock by his manipulation of it, and then they turned around and sued him, and they're going to fuck themselves in the
end. Because of discovery.
And
if
he does get it, he'll probably get it for 18 cents, right?
He's going to get it.
He needs to countersue them. Because they can always dismiss their complaint against him. He needs to find a grounds for counter suit in order to keep it going, because otherwise, when he gets to the good stuff that he needs to have, then they could just pull the plug.
But here's what.
But you only get that with a counter deal, right?
Otherwise, they can dismiss.
I think Twitter has lawyers churning them, saying that you got this case in the bag and you got to take this to trial. Because imagine the Twitter's lawyers don't want this to go away. Twitter's lawyers don't want this to go away because they're going to make. They're going to get
banned. Brian will tell you, I got banned on Twitter for an absolute fuck job.
I know what you got banned for. It's ridiculous.
I got banned for a couple different things. We can't quite figure it out.
Worse shit that gets said to me every single day on Twitter. The people that don't.
Well, we think we got. Brian actually legally tried to get down to it, And we don't think it was from the global warming bitch.
Really?
No, we think it was from, because everybody at one time when you worked for me had an @BTLS account. So it would be like Ned BTLS at Twitter, Spice BTLS, Bubba BTLS, Tara BTLS, Janessa BTLS. And Brian seems to think that there's this little unknown law or rule within Twitter that you can't have multiple accounts from the same deal, and that
tweeting and posting the same thing,
and that the trolls knew this little obscure thing because all of ours ended in BTLS, which was just representing the show,
right?
And that's what got it. And Brian, right?
We haven't pinned it down, and but see, that's part of the problem. That's part of the problem, and here's why I think it is, because and this is where I think a lawyer much better than I am could prove this case up. Though you had currency in your account in Twitter, okay, and without any sort of due process whatsoever, they took away your ability to monetize a product that you built up and that they benefited from as well. This was a mutually beneficial relationship. And so you had a vested financial interest in it that was created by the way Twitter does their business.
I just want to thank Donkey Teeth for getting rid of a couple of these fucking assholes on here. I've been looking at the chat a little bit.
They're the worst.
Fucking assholes. You know what?
Losers.
You moderators just,
Yeah, Donkey Teeth's awesome.
Fuck you guys.
So I think there's a very strong case to be made that you are being deprived of property rights, and not just and investment, your time that you invest in it. And I understand what their terms of service say.
I had 131,000 followers.
Throw the terms of service out the window and think about the loss, the financial loss he suffered without. And it's not. I don't disagree that they couldn't do that. They have to be able to explain to you exactly what you did and why they took it away from you.
And remember,
spell it out.
And remember this: they enjoy a 230 exemption. So since you enjoy that exemption from the government that limits your liability, then there needs to be some due process before you throw somebody off.
And you know what? 230 served its purpose. The internet needed to be, it was a Wild West, and it needed, just like giving away land in the 1840s out west made sense for the United States. It doesn't make sense to give away land anymore in 2022. Like, it's built up out there. There's no need to incentivize it. 230 existed to incentivize technology companies to enter a realm that was unregulated, unknown. It was the Wild West. It's just like space exploration. There'll come a time when space tourism is normal. We'll have more regulations then. Companies will be held a lot more under stricter scrutiny and stricter standards. It's the same thing with the internet now. 230 served its purpose. We need to rethink the way we regulate the internet in the modern age.
And Brian, you are my lawyer on this, and they wouldn't even tell us.
Nope.
They would say you violated one, and then they give you 56 pages of possibilities.
They would say, please refer to the terms and conditions. You violated this, and or general, just you violated our rules.
And Hadley,
against
you know the
proper
trolls,
use.
man. Just like what they did to me on my fucking chicken dip.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
Just like they did to me on my chicken dip.
And that's the thing is we need better recourse in this country for things like that.
It's funny because 230 got both of ours. Somebody just said got Biden elected. It got Biden elected, and in 2016 it got Trump elected.
Yeah.
It benefits. It's not a political party leaning thing.
No.
It allowed manipulation. It allows for manipulation. It allows for misinformation.
The only land Hatley wants is this stuff he bought in Nevada when he worked for me.
No, didn't he buy Nashville? No, wasn't it Nashville, Tennessee?
It was Nevada.
Oh, I thought you bought land in Tennessee
Nevada.
too.
No,
Nevada.
And it was a bullshit deal. Like a guy fucking. The guy was a scammer, wasn't he, Hatley?
Yeah, total scammer.
You only had $99 into it, though, didn't you?
Yeah, like two payments.
It was 99 down and 99 a month, and then Hatley's like, well, maybe I need to look into this bullshit.
Yes, exactly.
I remember when you made that announcement, we were fucking with you.
That was awesome.
Everybody loves to be reminded of their worst investments.
Hey, Hatley, can you please be my friend and not start on mine, okay? Because we don't have all day.
Planet Bubba, Chicken Dip, where do we want to go?
Hold on, Chicken Dip was
doing good. It was actually doing very well.
Brian, I'm telling you right now, Chicken Dip.
I know the story.
Would have been like
I know the story.
Me and Tom put 100 each in it, okay? And when Publix their initial order, It was going to be their big order because they have to get all the stores stocked up. On their first order, we got half of our money back. Okay? And then the second order was going to get us about another 50% of our money back, and then the third order was going to get us profitable.
Profit. Yeah, you're in the black.
And the trolls got me on the recall Willie after the first order, and once you get recalled, and you're done.
Yeah.
You're done.
Yeah, something like allergens or something like that.
One of the trolls somehow did a reverse engineering of the ingredients or some bullshit, and the people that made my chicken dicks, Duke's Manufacturing out of like Fort Lauderdale, my recipe, which we have and documented, and they have, called for a blue cheese based, blue cheese. They used an anchovy-based blue cheese to cut corners on one batch. Yep. On one batch. And I think the guy that works at somebody at the inside of Duke's told somebody that told somebody that told somebody. And the next thing you know, we got a Publix recall, and then you're done.
Then you're done.
Then you're done.
Yeah. That's the world that we live in.
I would be very, very, very rich right now.
Once you got recalled from Publix, you should have gotten into Winn-Dixie.
Yeah.
Well, no, but here's what we were. So we
Publix
were.
is all the distribution.
No, but here's the deal, man. We were going to own this for like 10 years, and Bean was already getting calls from like Helva and Nestle's and people that owns Dean's, because we, like, in our first fucking we already had like a 7% market share in dip.
That's incredible.
And like we Tom Valid, he said like in 5 or 6 years we're going to be able to sell this company
$100 million.
for $80 to $100 million. Boom. I ain't sitting here with you two fucks right now. Me and Hatley are fucking bitches in Costa Rica.
Hey, and what about this, Bubba? What about this? The day our boy Sean Compton is in L.A. and that email gets sent out at the Tribune Company. What about that?
What was that guy's name?
Lee.
Lee Abrams.
Yeah.
Ruined my fucking life.
Do you want? I mean, you know where we you and I were like that day. We were like, you know what? I think we're done doing radio. We're gonna go to Chicago and shoot shows for a week, a month, and juggle our nuts for 3 weeks.
I had a $2.9 million base. Hatley had like an $850 base. And then,
that's before rating bonuses.
And then we had a rating, like Tom negotiated a rate, like if we had a global rating of like whatever, which was we were gonna fucking smoke. It was like another 4 or 5 million. We were gonna fly up to Chicago and shoot like put 20. We were gonna be there for like a week.
Yep.
And shoot 20 shows.
Yep.
Which is a month. And we shot 4 shows and they test marketed through the roof. I mean, people were like.
They couldn't believe it. They were like, "This is
Springer on
unbelievable."
steroids.
Yeah,
because Jerry Springer kind of stood back, like Bubba was getting in the face of the people on the stage.
Fuck that. You'd be like, "Sit down, bitch."
The people on the stage, he would get in their face, and if an audience member asked a question that Bubba didn't like, he would argue with them before he.
I would argue. I'm like, "Are you an idiot? I'm not even asking that question. Sit the fuck down."
Yeah, like it was bananas. Like,
oh yeah, and like these couple and these black girls, I'd be like, you know what? I knew how to play. I like you two bitches. You're the only two that fucking get it around here.
And then the crowd was going nuts, and I was sitting in the control room with the CEO of the Tribune Company,
and he's freaking out,
and he's like, "This is going to be the best TV ever." The day, I mean, Sean Compton had a.
So they give me a $50,000 check, Brian, like in good faith.
Good faith. You're our guy.
Yeah, like non-refundable.
Yeah, here you go.
50 grand. They fly me and Brent up there. We do these shows. Tom Bean's there.
Yeah.
Now listen to this, Brian. I was allowed because I was allowed. So I went in there and I fucking got like I had Hatley. I said, Hatley, send the driver to go get me 3 cases of Miller Lite. And the guy, one of the main motherfuckers running the thing's like, you can't have any alcohol here. And I go, the fuck I can't. Randy Michaels, motherfucker.
Yeah.
Okay. So I bring in.
Was the CEO of the company.
I bring in 3 coolers of Miller Lights, and I tell the guys, hey, the whole crew. Well, all of them are union and this kind of shit.
Get her done's, man.
And they're like, we can't drink beer. I go, the fuck you can't. When we get done shooting today, we're drinking beer and taking pills, and Hatley's getting high.
Yeah, and
they're like, so then when you get the crew on your side, Brian, right? I told them they saw the beer on ice, and
Bubba had pizzas delivered for them.
We got the crew. They shot me perfect. The fucking crowd was great. We nailed it. will you give me $50,000? We're going to be on the CW network. We got like 92%.
That's
No,
smart, too,
we got clearance at 96% of
90
TV
cents per, it's going to take the
of
Tara
TV
Bank
markets.
show.
That's smart too, because the producers are down there talking to the cameramen saying,
Oh,
"What'd you
fuck
think?
yeah.
What'd you think? What'd you think?
Yeah.
What'd you think?" And you're fucking buying them beers and pizza. They're like, "This is fucking great."
Oh yeah, but they asked this one camera guy. He's like, man, this guy out of all the people that have ran, Jerry Springer, Wilco, they've all been in those the
same
stage.
stage.
And
Same
I
studio.
can remember the camera guy telling one of the guy, this is the guy that's got the it factor.
Yeah.
This guy blows Springer out of the water. So anyway, there was a $6 million check they had to write
to the CW, and the head of the WGN TV department,
Sean Compton,
Bubba and I have known that guy for decades.
Yeah, since he worked in the mailroom of J. Corn.
Yeah,
and
we
I
known
used to
that
get him.
long. Great guy. He's in L.A. with the check in his hand.
He's in L.A. with the check in their hand. All he has to do is give it to him, and it's fucking done.
It's
We start September.
Yep. And me and Bubba were like high-fiving. We're like, we are fucking out of radio. Fuck these motherfuckers. They can suck our motherfucking dick.
Because it was right there when we were getting ready to leave Sirius,
and we were like, we're telling everybody to suck our dick.
And then
radio
we were even
can
talking.
kiss our ass.
We were even saying, like, listen, you know what? We're gonna just dabble in radio. I'm gonna tell Cox that I'm gonna do like 2 days a week.
Yeah.
You know, like whatever.
We're like, we're gonna tape 1 week and we'll tape 1 week in Chicago, and then we'll spend 3 weeks in Tampa, fucking juggling our nuts.
And then we're like, then Brian, we're like this. I'm gonna make so much money. I'm gonna buy a condo in Chicago. We're gonna have bitches here all the time.
Yeah. Oh, we were
Just
like,
fuck.
We were like, you have no idea. Doing that type of show is so much easier than radio. Bubba and I would.
That was 22 minutes.
3 shows a day.
Yeah, it was. We were sitting in the conference room. Bubba and I would go in the conference room.
I was putting my big boy pants on, and Brent's like, "You got this. You got this."
Yeah, and then so they would give us cards. Okay, well this guy bought a schoolhouse and he turned it into a strip club, and these old bags are mad that the schoolhouse is a strip club, and the strippers are going to come out, and there's a stripper that's a little person.
And by the way, they run all this by Brent, and then Brent was like, hold on, it was like really big time TV. Then Brent would come and talk to me about it.
Then I'd say, okay, Bubba, here's the deal. Here's what they're going to do. Here's what the crowd's probably going to think. So here's where you can go with stuff. And Bubba would go out there and just fucking let it rip.
Just let it rip.
And it was awesome.
And so listen to this, Brian. What got him is, so we have these strippers on one side of the stage and these townspeople that are mad as fuck on the other side.
the old bags just pissed.
Right, they're mad as fuck that these strippers, because they're like, our husbands are going down to this place and they're just ruining our community.
Is this a real story?
This is a real story.
It's a real story.
And like,
Okay.
and it's a strip club, and all these years it was a schoolhouse, and it was not even a place of learning anymore. And now the strippers are dressing like schoolgirls, and it's a whole thing that they got.
So what really happened is this little town of Illinois, this fucking guy came in, this prospector, and they were going to knock the school down, and he's like, hey, I'll give you 18 cents for that fucking place. And they're like, great, but what? He's like, what are you? We're going to make it a restaurant or something. Well, he made it a strip joint that served food.
Yeah,
well,
he called it the schoolhouse.
And it was, and it was a little community that never had anything like this. Well, all the men were there. Like, you're like, man, we got us a fucking strip joint. Well, the girls were like these little sluts, and like, they were just making the money. Well, the townspeople, the wives and the grandmas were mad as fuck.
I mean, pissed.
So I can see the pulse of the room, and I'm kind of playing with the strippers, but I'm playing with so I see this old lady, and she's mad as absolute fuck about the deal.
I mean, mad as a hornet.
And I can pick up that she's mad, but she's really not saying something. And so I go up there and I say, Grandma, what's wrong? She goes, I just can't take this anymore. This has got me so upset. So she starts to leave. Right now, this is all unscripted, Brian. Like nobody knew that I could roll. Like this is what got me the job, I think. So most people would just let her walk out. Like she was literally walking off the set.
Like out into the hallway to the dressing room.
And so I said, cameraman, follow me. So I put my arm around Grandma, and I'm walking her down the hallway. And I'm like, Grandma, what's wrong? She's like, these girls are just like, I can't believe. I'm like, well, I said, Grandma, have you ever thought that maybe they just want a job, and maybe cooler heads can prevail? How about you sit? Now happened to be one of my coolers of beer right there. I go, how about we sit and drink a beer over it? And she goes, I'd like that. So we sat there and drank Miller Lights and bullshitted about the ins and outs of this place being a titty joint. And, Randy Michael's like, I couldn't fucking, that was just so riveted. No hosts ever go outside of their little bubble, and you took Grandma.
It was so good.
And it was real, and it was organic.
Yeah.
And then, so Richard Dominic was the guy that produced Jerry Springer for like 16, 17 years.
Yeah.
And he was in there kind of overseeing the whole deal. Brent and Tom were my guys, but he was Tribune's guy.
Yeah.
But he was like he'd done a ton of TV, so he knew. So before I did it, he was like, well, I'm gonna take a look and see if you got the chops for TV, and we'll see,
All that
After
bullshit.
that show, he's like, you know what? fucking sign that guy
Yeah.
right now.
Yeah.
Right now. So, Brian, we were fucking greenlit. We were done.
Like remember we hugged Randy before getting in the car.
And they took us to dinner.
Yeah, we took us to dinner. We were there with Mark Chase. Hey, dude, that was awesome, man. What do you think?
Man, you guys are going to be big time stars.
Oh, this is going to be big. This is going to be the biggest.
It's going to be bigger. It's going to be bigger from Springer, Morton down you. It's going to be the best.
It's going to be the best. And like we're getting in the SUV to go to the airport, and Randy gives us a hug. He goes, "I'm paying you guys for this show. This is going to be huge. You're going to make me a lot of money." I was like, "Oh my God, yes."
Yeah. And then Randy even said, "Next time you guys will be up here, it'll be on a private jet," because we had private jet service, Brian.
Wow.
So they were going to private jet me up there. Like it was. Ask Tom. Tom was there. Tom B cut the deal.
It was the greatest.
And then
it was the greatest.
So the night before, so Sean Compton flies to L.A. and
he's there.
1 hour. That 1 hour block on CW globally, it costs they broker it, and it costs $6 million a year.
Yeah.
So whoever wants to put any kind of program on there, whether it's an infomercial or a talk show, they pay CW $6 million, and then that show goes out and sells its advertising based on based on ratings and things like that.
And does the CW get a piece of the ads too?
No.
The CW just gets
They're just selling their hour for $6 million.
Yeah.
Yep. At that time, yeah.
So
Wow.
Tribune Company was like, "We'll take this," and we got 96% clearance in 96% of the markets. Like Sean Compton was at their office with the check in his hand.
So the meeting was at 11 o'clock LA time. And Sean Compton's there. He got there the night before. He's got the $6 million, ready to fly into their fucking account or some bullshit. And that morning, Lee Abrams, who worked at Tribune, sent some kind of inappropriate
to everybody in the whole company.
Yeah, and it was like to deal with like a tit joke or something about tits.
Something inappropriate that you don't put on company email for anything for any reason.
Right, and he sends it all out as a fucking joke. And Randy is forced to resign.
Like immediately.
They send word back to Sean in L.A.,
Nope.
hey, hold off on this because we don't know if the new CEO is going to back this because arguably this is going to get some blowback and we need the president on board.
Yep. And anybody that had anything to do with Randy was gone.
Yeah. Anything that had anybody to do with Randy was gone. And that's how close I got.
October 13th, 2010. Tribune's Lee Abrams suspended for email.
Yep.
That's what sunk us.
That's what got
In
us.
a message to staff Wednesday, Tribune CEO Randy Michaels said Abrams would remain on suspension indefinitely without pay while they investigated the process.
Yeah, and they got rid of
last
everybody.
week. Okay, so it would have been October 3rd-ish. The company, which is trying to work its out an arrangement to emerge from bankruptcy protection, was the subject of a lengthy, embarrassing piece in the New York Times that chronicled off-color remarks and antics.
So all that was going on,
including incidents involving Michaels.
So here's what happened: is Randy comes in and he's a radio guy and the best radio guy ever. Randy comes in and he changes the culture of this print company, Tribune, to more of
a media company.
to a more of a media,
real media,
to a media
something
company
that can actually survive.
Yeah.
And they were very early on internet.
They were
vlogging and all that.
And like in each market, like the Chicago Tribune, the Orlando Sentinel.
Is this where they bought the Cubs too?
They bought the Cubs
too.
and they had these local news feeds that you could get on.
And here's where we kick ourselves in the biggest ass, Brian. Me and Brent should have gone up there a few days early because we're both baseball fans, and so Randy and Randy's not. Like Randy's a nerd. He hates baseball.
Yeah.
He owns the Cubs, and he's the CEO of the company that owns the Cubs.
Yeah.
But he doesn't give a fuck. So had I known Mark Chase like, hey man, too bad you guys ain't staying early or late or whatever, because I'd take you right down to the Cubs game. We'll go to the locker room. We'll go to wherever you want to go. They don't tell us no. I'm like, what? He goes, we can. Literally, we could have taken batting practice.
Yeah.
They didn't. I mean,
all
we had to do is just say Randy Michaels. They're like, oh fuck.
Yeah.
Hey, third base, let me see your schlong. Take off your towel. I'm here with Randy.
I want to take some BP.
So all these stick up their ass journalists that worked for the Tribune company were upset because Randy's like, he made it casual Fridays, right?
Yeah, you can wear Bahama shorts and
anybody in the company could use the executive lunchroom. Like he made all these rules like go away that print journalists have. So they all run and rat him out to the New York Times and say, oh, he makes off-color jokes and he makes us feel uncomfortable. Meanwhile, every single property that they own, Randy made profitable while he was CEO.
Right. Yeah.
So and it changed the culture, everything, and they went and ratted him out to the New York Times. So this was going on for a week, and then Lee Abrams does that.
I wish we could
the
find
only reason
those
there's
tapes.
still a thing is because of Randy.
I wish we could find.
Company
I wish
would be
we
bankrupt.
I wish
if
we
it
could
wasn't
find
for
those pilots.
Where are those pilots?
Tribune owns them. Tribune owns them.
Tribune owns them, and I've asked Sean Compton for them several times, and he now is such a sling and dick that he's unapproachable. Like you can't even talk to him.
Yeah, I messaged.
He runs Newsmax, like WGN America, WGN, all that.
He's the head of Tribune TV.
No, I think it's called MedStar or something like that.
Yeah,
whatever the fuck.
Yeah, I sometimes just friendly wise message back and forth with him on Facebook.
You should. Bubba, as a part of your deal that you're doing, you should have them approach it just to try and get some of the video. Just say that they're going to use it in this documentary.
I don't think they. I mean,
no,
I think
for
Sean,
a price they will. I mean, not too much, but why not? It's worthless to them.
You don't understand. Like Howard has tried for years just to get his Channel 9 shows back from WOR in New York, and they're like, you can fucking you can smile and blow me. I'm not giving them to you. I have no idea.
Like what are four pilots of a show that nobody ever saw worth?
I don't know. These TV companies are weird about it. They just will not give you it.
Well, they might also it's going to create blowback in today's world. They're going to be like, oh, you allowed that back 10 years ago. We shot it in 11. And,
2010.
No, you were shot in 10.
We shot it in 10.
We shot it during I remember it was the World Cup was going on because we.
Yeah, we
so it would have been summer 2010.
Yeah, with the World Cup was because I watched.
Well, we shot it.
I watched Japan and Holland in my my hotel room.
We shot it in 2010 with it to start September of 11.
Yep.
That was because we were taking over for Tyra Banks.
Tyra Banks. Yep.
Yep.
Her toe.
Yeah, her toe. Yeah, Tyra Banks.
That bitch toe.
We were going to take over for Tyra Banks, and we were going to dominate that time slot, and we were going to tell radio they can lick our taint.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then they signed this Bill Cunningham show
out of Cincinnati,
and he went on and did pretty well.
He did really well.
And Randy told I've seen Randy probably 10 times since then. He's like, I'm telling you, if Bill Cunningham did as well as he did, I would have been.
Oh my God! I don't even want to think about it. I don't even want to think about it because
Brian, they let me be me. Like I totally could just be like I could engage. I could get in fights. I mean, I could fucking I could kick people out of my studio.
Yeah, he wasn't one of these stuffy assholes in a suit. He's like wearing a leather jacket and fucking talking shit to the audience and to the people on the stage. It was fucking amazing. I loved it. I thought it was awesome, and I knew exactly how that we were just. Oh
on
my God!
On one of my guests, I forget Brian. I was arguing. There was a guy. It was a guy that got mad. We brought these men that were dressed up like ladies, beautiful women, beautiful, and they were going to give regular men massages, but the regular men thought that they were really hot chicks. Well, as they're massaging, I let the good news out that you're getting rubbed by a man, and one guy was pretty cool about it, but the other guy was a complete dick, and I said, get the fuck out of my studio. Now, security, get this fucking bullheaded and they literally yoked him.
They yoked him out.
You don't see people getting yoked out of studio. I was yoking guys out of there.
It was some of the funniest, most outrageous shit. And we would, I'm just telling you now, I would have me a huge house on the property at Caliente right now.
Yeah, well, it would have been,
your life may have gone a different direction. Who knows? Who knows?
It's hard
Butterfly effect, man.
Yeah, I know.
Me and Brent probably be fucking hot 19-year-old black girls in Chicago right now.
Oh my God, we would have definitely.
I've never been with a black girl, and that's one.
You guys would have had a nice house in the Lincoln Park area.
Oh my God,
been living up there.
We would have lived
during the summers, and then down here during the
we would have lived at
winters.
Lake Point Towers, and that's one of the most exclusive places to live in downtown Chicago.
Yeah, Bubba lived in Chicago, so I'd have gone with what he recommended.
Yeah. Bubba would have season passes, suite to the Packers.
Yeah, fuck the Bears.
Oh yeah, we'd definitely be going to Packer games.
Hold on, me and Hatley. We went to a couple Packer games and got VIP like a motherfucker. Yeah. We were in the weight room. We walked on Lambeau Field.
I heard this story. Yeah,
we walked on Lambeau Field. We took pictures in front of Aaron Rodgers' locker.
We were on Lambeau Field when Aaron Rodgers and Brett Favre were warming up at the same time.
Yeah,
wow. That had to been.
We
tense.
were standing on the field. No, they were just like they were just.
They don't give a fuck.
They were just standing there.
No. I'm saying they weren't boys though.
Yeah, they kind of were.
They kind of were like joking around and
they kind of were like Favre would go, Aaron, you throw throw a little harder than me, but you ain't playing today.
Yeah, and they were just
That's funny. So see that? Yeah,
they were just busting balls, and we were. I was like, we were just sitting here, and now to know what Aaron Rodgers has gone on to do.
Oh my God!
Like we were watching Aaron Rodgers and Brett Favre stand next to each other warming up. It was crazy.
Is Aaron Rodgers as good as I think he is?
He is the best regular season quarterback in NFL history.
He's a great quarterback. He's amazing.
He's the best.
I hate to turn this into sports, but is he going to lose a little bit now that Adams is gone? Does it fuck him a little bit?
We'll see. I don't.
If he doesn't miss a beat, if he goes out there and throws for 4,800 yards and 40 touchdowns and 5 picks this season, then the guy is the greatest of all time. With that receiving core.
The Packers did the smart thing, and they upgraded their offensive line. And if you can keep the rush off of Aaron Rodgers, it doesn't matter who's at receiver.
Bakatari is done.
He's going to pick you. He's going to pick you apart.
Did you hear that?
Yeah, it's probably microfracture issues now. He's screwed. If it's his knee, first of all, he's 31, 32 years old.
Well, and plus he's the highest paid tackle that hasn't. Well, now going on 2 years.
And it's 539 days since he took a snap.
Yeah, so that was one of the things that Aaron Rodgers demanded from the Packers, is they upgrade their offensive line.
Well, he must
Jones
be damn confident that they're either going to find a way to get OBJ or something, because
who's available right now?
OBJ.
Is he available?
Yeah.
Old dirty bastard.
Yep.
Yeah. Exactly.
No. Is Beckham?
Odell Beckham's still a free agent.
But
I believe he's the last big one.
Is he obtainable money wise? Is he a $13 million guy?
At this stage in his career, they can probably get him. They can get him affordably. I mean, not cheap, but they could get him. They'd have to give him some term.
They need to go get Jake Cumio.
I think Rodgers
from Buffalo.
That's the big difference maker. The guy nobody wants.
I think Rodgers is I think he's at the level of a Brady, where he's good enough. If you can keep the rush off of him, he will make any receiver great.
If you give him 3 or 4 seconds, he'll kill you.
Yeah, he'll absolutely
fucking kill you. And he also has that fast flick on him. He does have the fastest release in football.
And it's precise. He's dead on the money with his passes. I mean, he is.
No, he's the most precise passer that we've seen in our lifetime, sure.
He sets his feet and the ball is out like that, and it's on the money.
And he doesn't make mistakes. That's the thing. His interception rate is insane. It's insane. The guy doesn't make mistakes.
Now they lost that one guy, the Smith kid, to Minnesota.
No, they lost Marquez Valdez-Scantling to KC.
Was that a great receiver?
He stretched the field for Adams.
Yeah.
He drew safeties away so Adams could have one-on-one or two-on-one coverage, rather than they can triple cover him in that offense.
But look at Belichick for years. Put a lot of his money in the offensive line, and he would go with whatever running backs and receivers he could get, and he trusted Brady. If you could give him time,
this league's
Brady
different
will
now,
eat you
though.
up.
This league's different now.
No,
and the last
is that
decade
quarterback
has
from Indiana
changed
State?
that.
Is that quarterback from Tunyon? I heard he got put on PUP. That was that big breakout guy 2 years ago from Indiana State that was a journeyman, went to Detroit, whatever.
That's right.
And then he was a
Even
fucking
the tight
stud.
end, Robert Tunyon?
I think he got put on PUP.
I thought he said cornerback.
No, Tunyon's a tight end,
Tunyon's
right?
a tight end, yeah.
And I think that's. Aaron Rodgers having that relief valve tight end quick hitter. You got to have him.
Look at the teams that were in the playoffs last season.
Is Brady not as effective without Gronk? I think so.
Right.
That's why they brought in Rudolph and Julio Jones.
They just signed Julio Jones. Now
who did?
The Bucs.
They did?
Yeah. So now you got to deal with Mike Evans and Julio Jones.
We'll see how
Why
much
did the Packers get Julio?
Well, they were in the bidding for him, but the Bucs gave $6 million, which, he's 33 going into 34.
For him. When his head's in the game, guy's a fucking stud.
Here's the thing.
He's ripped too.
Go look, and that's fine.
Probably a big dong too.
Losing a I don't know. But these guys lose a step at 30. And there's a reason why, if you go back the last 7 years in the NFL, other than an offseason with Larry Fitzgerald or Julian Edelman, you have very few, if any, receivers in the top 30 or even 40 statistically over the age of 30.
Jason Cherry and chat says, I would have known that had I not gotten sniped from the sports show yesterday.
Yeah, you got sniped. That
so
was
the Packers
Nick
were in
the
Packers
the
were in the running
were
for
rumored.
Julio.
Baltimore was rumored.
Who's better, OGJ or
OBJ? Right now, based
Julio.
on the last 2 seasons, probably OBJ.
OBJ was a Ram, wasn't he?
He's going to want money and term, though, and that's the problem.
If I'm a coach, though, I'd rather have Julio Jones. Julio Jones is a better influence in the locker room. He's a solid veteran, and if he gets him, it all depends on how good a shape if he gets himself in good shape. Julio Jones.
Well, he doesn't have to be a number one for the Bucs. They have a number one. He doesn't have to be a number two for the Bucs. They have another two. He just has to be a solid number three.
He will be. He will be.
70 catches for 700 yards and 4 touchdowns, and that's a good year for him.
I'll tell you who I really like, and I know I'm not a Bucs fan, is that Evans motherfucker.
He's the toughest motherfucker in football.
Oh, my God.
When he was at Texas A&M, he made everybody think Johnny Football was a good quarterback.
Yeah,
that's
you know
how
what?
good he was.
You're right. You're exactly right.
Because he caught everything at his feet, over his head. He caught everything, and that's
he's so under.
He's underappreciated as a wide receiver. That guy is so hard to cover because if you throw it anywhere near him,
he's so big,
and he gets it,
and he's not afraid to get it. He's got knocked out, concussed 3 games in his career.
There's
year.
one thing he's not afraid to cross. He doesn't get alligator arms across the middle.
Yeah, he's not scared to go across the middle.
No, you can't blame any of Jameis' issues on Evans. No fucking
way. No.
In fact, Evans might have pulled Jameis out of the water a little bit.
He absolutely did. But Jameis may have shortened Evans' career by a year or two.
Yeah, you're right.
Because he hung him out to dry, man.
Well, last year Brady let him right into the Saints, knocking him out.
Yeah,
so,
he got knocked out by Brady once. Yep.
So it's just look.
Now, Jameis thought that he would give that linebacker the I'm not going to slide deal, and that guy fucking tweaked his shit. Remember?
Yep.
That linebacker for the Bucs. Remember, Jameis didn't slide, and he tried to kind of go in there, and it was at the 50. Who's the bad mother? White.
Ooh, I just heard Ryan Jensen had to get carted off practice today. That's not good. We can't afford Brady taking hits.
Isn't Jensen the best on the entire line? Well, that one guy from Iowa.
Yeah, well,
Tristan Wirfs will eventually be one of the best in the league.
But Jensen is great at calling offensive line.
Is he that big redheaded nut? That big fucking crazy redheaded guy that wears like a little fucking face mask?
Yeah, and he and his calls on the offensive line, his protections for Brady are really, really, really good. He keeps the rush off. He knows how to keep the rush off of Brady and call the offensive line calls. He's really
now does
good.
Devontae Evans go and make Carr look like $1 million?
Carr is a good quarterback. Don't
really
get this wrong. He was a good quarterback before him. He now has weapons out the ass between Waller and Adams and Jacobs. They are going to be formidable. The problem for them is they play in the toughest division in football now.
The Raiders are going to score points. It's going to be can you score points and keep up with them?
Do they have a decent defense?
Well, they've got one of the best D linemen in the league, but I don't know.
Sapp come back?
No, I forget his name. It's what's his name? The Raiders D lineman. He's amazing.
But the thing is, the Raiders defense, I think, on the back end is a little bit weak. So if you can give your quarterback some time, you can beat their defense.
Yeah, that's the issue. What's his name?
Does Jameis end up starting for the Saints?
Oh yeah, they just gave him a 2-year deal and like $13.2 million. They gave him something like that.
What do you think about him? Obviously that's your number one team.
I'm not a huge fan of Jameis, but on the positive, I'll give you the positive and the negative. The negative is he takes too many chances. And,
he does.
And gets picked. The positive is he's got a strong arm and can throw the ball a mile.
And he's big.
And he's huge. So the Saints need to get Michael Thomas back onto the field.
Does it hurt that they lost their coach?
Bad. He's the quarterback whisperer. I mean, that hurts losing Sean
Max
Payton.
Crosby. That's the guy I was thinking from the Raiders.
Why did Peyton? Why did he retire?
Oh, because he knows they're screwed. They
got some cap issues.
Cap hell.
They've got some cap issues, and the owners.
Cap issue from what Drew Brees taking around to me. I mean,
from
backloading Brees.
Yeah, and they've got Michael Thomas.
They had a lot of money tied up on the defensive side of the ball,
and they've got Alvin Kamara. They've got some big people they got to pay, and they've got some big cap issues. So
yeah, and so they're hamstrung, and they Taysom Hill contract is an albatross around their neck. It's so it was a good time for him to go.
Does Miami rebound with that kid from Kansas City?
Tyreek Hill. Yeah. Tua's not the guy. I don't think.
I think Miami has the same problem that the Jets have, that the Browns have. It's the organization itself is terrible.
I agree.
Yeah,
and that's the thing. That's why Miami doesn't win. They bring in plenty
of good
players.
Same thing with Dallas too. Dallas has organizational issues.
Yeah.
Oh, Jerry Jones will have it killed if you hear it.
Well, he can hear it all day. He needs to stop meddling.
Look at all the great players that Washington has brought in, and they've done nothing.
Dan Snyder is a huge problem
because he's an ass
starts
bucket.
at the top, man.
Yeah.
Why do you think the Lightning are so good?
Ownership.
Jeff Vinnick.
Yep.
Jeff Vinnick, why do you think the Braves can't get over the hump? Stu Sternberg, man.
And why do you think the Patriots are so good? Because Bob Kraft is the man.
Yep.
Bob Kraft knows how to run an organization.
Right. I mean, you're right. I mean,
it's organizational leadership. It's no.
And listen, and you got to give the Glazers some credit. You really do. I mean, the Glazers.
Because the Culver houses were a bunch of ass buckets.
Right.
And then the Glazers really did turn the franchise around.
What they did was
team.
they bring in football guys and they let the football guys run the team. They don't pretend to be closet GMs as owners. They set the budget and then the football guys abide by it.
And the Glazers have done a great job marketing the Bucs. They're in the top 5 in merchandising in the NFL around the world.
Going over and playing a lot of games in Europe helped them a lot because they became their fans. And the Manchester United ownership, that helps as well.
Last question before we got to let you guys go. Who are give me the AFC and the NFC sleepers in football?
Oh, I think the Raiders in the AFC for sure
is a sleeper.
I think so. I had them last year and
Hadley,
making the playoffs.
Raiders?
Yeah.
Okay.
I definitely agree with that.
And how about NFC? Is it Arizona? I guess they wouldn't be a sleeper because Arizona's supposed to be there, right?
Here's the problem.
They're loaded.
Here's the problem for Arizona, man. You look at their coach, and he came over from the college game from Texas Tech, Kingsbury.
And he thinks he's a rock star.
Cliff Kingsbury.
He starts out the season 4-0, 5-0, 7-0. His last 8 games, 3-5, 2-6. This is across the board. His entire coaching career, he shits his teams. I don't know what he does. I don't know what he's doing. But from college to the Cardinals now, his teams shit the bed in the second half of the season.
All right. So give me your NFC sleeper.
I would go, if I had to pick a sleeper, the Vikings.
I agree.
I think they may win the division this year.
Depending
upon how good Aaron Rodgers can do with the limited receivers he has.
And the potential offensive line disaster.
Yeah, well,
it's all going to hinge on the offensive line.
Do they eat that Bakhtiari? Do they eat that money? Do they got to eat that money?
They want him. He won't retire, but they want him to retire so that they can at least free up some cap money.
Yeah,
with him medically unable to perform. But I don't know if he had an insurance policy to cover it.
But I mean, whatever he got, signing bonus and guaranteed.
Well, the problem is they've backloaded it, and so they've got cap problems in future years.
If he's tweaked and done, then that pretty much takes, because he's a big number. He is a big number. That takes care of their cap problem.
No, because the signing bonus still counts. You still have to pay him that because it's a signing bonus.
Yeah, but that frees up 14, 15, 16 million a year on a guy, right?
Yeah,
he's a 20. I think he's a $25 million a year guy.
I'm pulling up his contract now. He averages out to 20. I did.
God damn, look how right
21 and a half.
I didn't even know, and I knew.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, he averages out to 21.5 million.
Exactly what I just said.
Yeah,
he's a 15 to 20 million your guy.
And Madden, Madden, I trade those guys, man.
You don't pay that guy if he's done, right. If
you
backloaded years
I think you
3,
still
4, and 5,
you owe him all the signing bonus, so the signing bonus will count against you. I don't know
what was
exactly.
The signing bonus?
Well, I'm trying to pull it up, but I can't. Sport Track decided to pick the worst possible time not to function for me here.
So in the NFC, I'll give you my sleeper in the NFC.
So he had a 4-year, $92 million deal.
Ooh.
Sorry, 61.5 guaranteed.
So split that up by 4.
Yeah, so 15 his cap, but I think they backloaded that, so it's going to hurt them in future years. But their site's not working too great right now.
It said shortly before it signed a 4-year deal worth $105.5 million. God. The base value of the deal is $103.5 with another $2 million in incentives, which includes the highest signing bonus of all time for him, $30 million. So $30 million signing bonus. Total cash flow is at $37.052 million for the first year, $64.5 million in the first 3 years.
So he's $34 million dead cap this year, $23 million next year, and $11 million the last year. What's interesting is if they cut him now,
let's say they cut him tomorrow,
$21 million, it would count against him.
For only
next
this year
is the year they can cut him. They still have to pay him a huge number, but it only hurt him $6 million in cap. They'll get actually $6 million in cap savings off of that.
Well, that's something.
It's something. Then the last year they would save 21.5.
You can hire Hatley and Clem for backup fullbacks for that.
Exactly. So my NFC sleeper is the San Francisco 49ers.
They're not a sleeper though, Hatley. They're supposed to be there.
No, not with Trey Lance. If Jimmy G is not their starter, nobody's picking him right now.
I think Samuel is going to even have a better year, and because
he's holding out partially.
Yeah, well, they need to pay him because he He lines up at running back, at receiver, and he creates all kinds of havoc for defenses.
He's a Swiss Army knife, man. He's the most versatile player in the league.
Yeah.
Atlanta had that guy
overrated.
too, but Debo?
Yeah.
Overrated?
No way.
That offense is stagnant without him last year.
And at any moment, he's gone.
Yeah, he's a freak.
Yeah.
He's an absolute freak of nature.
Like that's the guy, that would worry me when they play the Saints. Is Samuel. God, he's at any moment he's.
So what is the official to end, Brian? What's the official training camp news for Bacliera or whatever? Like, well, I mean, He
said it's.
I know he's on the PUP list.
He's dealing with a knee issue. It's not his ACL. And then he was very cryptic. He's like, anybody who's gone through this before knows what I'm dealing with, and blah 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 blah.
What does that mean?
I don't know.
I'm fucked.
I don't know because he won't. They haven't disclosed what he's dealing with. I think it may be something related to microfractures in his kneecap, which is causing debilitating pain and making it impossible for him to play effectively.
Brent, how do your Florida Gators do this year? And don't drink the Gator Kool-Aid. When they're down, sometimes you'll say it.
Okay, so this is a huge question mark because we've got this new
huge Florida Gator guy.
Huge question mark.
Richardson's going to be the truth, man.
So Anthony Richardson, who's the quarterback, is like the best quarterback that the Gators have had since Tim Tebow. No question about it.
Well, did he play? Is he a 3-year starter?
No, he played a little bit
as a true freshman.
Last year he played a little bit.
Freshman.
Yeah.
True freshman.
Like a true redshirt Willie?
No, like a true freshman.
He played last year. I mean, this guy hurdles people. He can sling it. He's got speed. He's got it all. But the thing is this: we have a new coach, Billy Napier. He did very well with the Louisiana Raging Cajuns. He has not coached one SEC football game yet. The Gators are opening up with Utah on September 3rd at Florida, which is not a pushover. Utah is a good team. So
Mormons and all.
It's going to be a very tough season for Florida. And it's just a huge question mark because running back is their weakness. They lost all their good running backs are pretty much gone.
They all transferred out.
Or left, but he brought in a running back from the Louisiana Raging Cajuns that was the player of the year last year. So we just don't know. What's going to happen with the Gators and this young guy? I think he's 42 years old. He's going to get a chance to prove whether he can hang in the SEC or not.
If not, do you think Deion Sanders could be a choice?
I think that Deion Sanders.
I think any Florida fucking school in 3 years it'll be a bidding war.
Yep, they're gonna. I think the University of Florida backs up the money truck for Deion Sanders.
We'll see how FSU does with Norville this year because he may be done after this season.
Yeah, but I don't think
case,
Deion leaves, and I think Deion
would leave. Florida State would back up the truck too.
Well, now
for Deion.
hold on. In the
racism in the
hold on though, but I
Tallahassee.
think all of Deion's guys in today's portal system, I think you could go and transfer to FSU immediately, can't you? I think in the new portal system, you don't even have to sit out a year.
Well, they get the one-time transfer no matter what, and they're talking about doing away with that and making it unlimited. So if he wanted those kids, he could bring them along with him.
I was talking to a guy that I forget where did I see this person? It was just fairly recent, and he specializes in. Oh, I know. I met him at Tate's Pizza, and he is 35 years old. He's worth $135 million. I Googled him. He's the real deal, and he's one of the largest. One of the largest alumni contributors to the University of Miami. And his company, one of his companies that he just formed is an NIL company, name, image, and likeness. And he said it is the absolute fucking Wild West right now.
Yep.
And that DeSantis has to go on here now and make some kind of rule real fast, although we were first to make the NIL deal in the rest of the country. I guess that they kind of refined it, and all Florida schools are at a little bit of a disadvantage based on some verbiage that all the other states put in that we didn't. Are you familiar with that, Brian?
I'm not totally. I know now's the time to make the money on it because they'll rein it in here.
He said
the fun police are going to come in.
Well,
we saw
like Deion's deal with Bleacher Report or what? I'm not with Bleacher Report, with Barstool, and his players getting money as a part of that. Like that type of close connection to the administration is going to be problematic in future state.
He said that there are dealerships, Cadillac and whatever dealerships, that are given 10, 15, 20 escalades to players.
Well, that was what Nick Saban went after Jimbo Fisher with.
I mean, is it going to be like the SMU, Craig James, Eric Dickerson, or is it going to make that look like a fucking popsicle stand?
That's going to look like a popsicle stand compared to what we got coming.
So this is why Saban attacked Texas A&M and Jimbo Fisher because he's like, well, we just don't have the oil money, we don't have the alumni like they do over in other schools, taking a shot at them, saying we don't have the ability to buy players like they do. We have to actually earn it, which was, it's Nick Saban's a total villain in college football. I don't like him at all.
He is good, though.
He is.
He's effective.
He's the best college football coach ever. The best football coach ever has got to be Jimmy Johnson.
You think so?
Yeah. Well, if you win multiple national championships at college level and multiple Super Bowls, and team that was
right.
1 in 15.
Where's my boy Vince rate?
Yeah,
Vince Lombardi. It's a different era for his era. Vince Lombardi, as far as fundamentals and coaching, is my favorite.
I'll say this: Jimmy Johnson was in a different era too.
Right.
So,
but the Cowboys were 1 in 15.
No free agency though. So they had captive players. It wasn't free agency like it is in the NFL now. It's a different era.
Remember the Herschel Walker trade they got?
Diminish it, but it is a different era. The Cowboys haven't won jack shit since free agency became a thing in the NFL.
Didn't the Herschel Walker trade pretty much build the Cowboys empire?
Yep.
They got Aikman from that. They got Emmett from that. I think, right?
They drafted Emmett and in the second round. Can you believe that?
I think they got. I think they got the picks.
Yeah, the picks.
I mean, I think they got 7 picks.
They got Aikman from UCLA. Yeah, absolutely. And then they had they were 1 in 15, and Jimmy Johnson comes in and turns that team around.
I tell you, I went and visited Dion in '96 for the NFC Championship game, and I stayed with Dion, and I got to meet Jerry Jones, and I got to see the culture. And just be behind the scenes. Hell, Brent, you saw I was in the locker room and everything. And, man, so I come pulling up with Dion and Dion's limo, and Dion goes, don't talk to that security guy right there and tell him to get Jerry. So I go get this guy, and the guy gets Jerry, and Jerry comes up to Dion, and Dion goes, Jerry, this is a very dear friend of mine, Bubba. I like you to give him some kind of pass to let him walk wherever he wants. Well, they didn't give me a pass. They gave me this little gold bracelet. And it wasn't a pass. It wasn't a credential, a laminate. It was a gold bracelet. And I could go anywhere I wanted, including the Packers locker room. So during the game, it's a super tight game. The Packers are actually up. And I haven't even been hanging out on the Cowboy side. I've been over at the Packers side because I'm looking at Brett Favre and Reggie White. I'm looking at all these motherfuckers. Brett, I'm like, fuck. Look at this, Chris Jackie. And it's when
Jackie?
Hold on. And listen to this.
Chamorro.
A lot of people don't know this, but McMahon, Jim McMahon spent his last couple years with the Packers as a backup to Favre. Yep. So I'm looking at Jim McMahon. I'm looking at all these motherfuckers. And so come halftime, the Cowboys are in the locker room. Well, I don't go in. I could, but I didn't. I just kind of stayed outside. And Dion comes out there and he goes, Sponge, where you been? I haven't seen you on the sidelines. I go, I've been over looking at the Packer guys. He goes, don't forget who brought you to this dance, buddy. So I didn't go over to the Packers the rest of the day. I stayed over at the Cowboys deal. But man, just to be able to experience that, not a lot of people have been able to experience anything like that. And then Brent, when you and I went to Lambeau Field because my buddy worked for the Packers and we had unabated access to anywhere we wanted to go.
That was amazing.
People dream of that kind of shit.
I remember Mark Chamorro sharing a story about how there was some weird dude in the shower staring at him the whole time.
I wasn't a 17-year-old hot tub girl. He wouldn't have
noticed.
Yeah, he wouldn't have noticed us. I will tell you this. This is my last story. One of the most amazing things I've ever seen in sports is I was at the old Sombrero, the old Buck Stadium, and it's when the Packers played the Bucks, I think in 95. It was the year, in 95, and it's when the Packers clinched the Central.
So that's the one the Packers won.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Because the next year, I think the Bucks won.
They did.
Yeah.
So I was sitting, and I had press passes from 98 Rock or whatever, and I'm in the end zone, and it was, I forget, like the third or fourth quarter, and I'm right there. And Brent, if you're in the end zone, you can, if the team is like the Packers are down like at the 20, and they had 80 yards to go. Well, the press kind of goes with the team.
With the team,
So I went and said, I'm just going to go down to the fucking goalpost and wait for him to come. Then I'll have the best seats. You know, because they
were driving. Yeah.
all the photographers are always pushing around and trying to get it. You know, like
to jockey for their shot. For
Yeah.
Sports Illustrated.
So I said, "Fuck it! I know they're going to score, so I'm going to be the first one down." So I walked all the way down there, and I'm literally leaning against the goal pad until the referee tells me to get behind the slash mark. Well, they're on the Packers are on the Bucks like 8, right? And I'm standing there, and then they I think it might, who was the fucking run? Armand Green maybe, or somebody like that, or
it might have been Edgar Bennett.
Edgar Bennett, I think it was Edgar Bennett. Dorsey Levin, some bullshit. They try a couple running plays, and then next thing you know, they got this pass play. Well, Favre drops back, and I'm like right at pretty much parallel with the goalpost, right there. Well, all of a sudden, he fucking lets this ball rip. Now, Favre threw it 154 fucking miles an hour. He did. I mean, I don't know. Favre had an arm on him, and this ball's coming right for me. Now, Hatley, it literally is from like me to you right now.
Yeah.
I'm standing up. It's literally like from me to you, Brian. Like the ball is where you are.
Right.
And I'm like, holy shit. Like, because there was no guy right there. I'm like, holy shit, I'm just getting kind of fucking scared. I was getting ready to maybe have to catch it, right? All of a sudden, out of nowhere, big-ass Chimura comes by and catches it like right in front of me. But for a split second, I really thought that ball was coming right for me, and it was going 100 miles an hour, and I didn't know if I was going to be able to catch it.
You know what? On Monday Night Football, I had the same thing happen to me, and Chimura spiked it, and I caught the ball.
Oh, you did?
And handed it to the ref. You can see it on that Monday Night Football.
So what are you going to give it to Coco and start fucking jogging?
Well, you know how they are.
Oh, they are.
When you're down there on the field.
Oh, they are.
You know how they are.
But, man, to see a ball that's, I would have
yeah,
they would have hit me in the head.
I saw it because Brett Favre throws it to a spot.
Right.
And his guy goes and gets it. Like, you really see that when you, because
and until you're on the field. Brian, have you ever been on the field?
I've been down for like a USF game. Okay. But not for a pro game.
Oh, a pro game?
So the speed, you cannot believe the speed. Like, that's the biggest. The guys are big, but the speed of the game is like it's something that you cannot comprehend unless you're on the field level.
They've got that game on YouTube, by the way. Was this December of '95?
I think so.
Yeah, they've got the full game. So we should be able to see you standing in the end zone and Mark Chimura making the TD catch.
Yeah, because mine on '97, when it happened to me, like, it was '97 Monday Night Football, Packers at the Bucks, but the Bucks won that game.
Also on the
Jaquez Green had a big game,
and on the NFC Championship game.
Oh, you can definitely see you in that one.
You can see me. I had this big white 4X shirt on. And we you could see me like me and Hallie used to go. We watched it like 10 times. You could see me like 10 times.
I saw you. I remember seeing you on TV when that game was on live because, of course, it's the NFC Championship. Everybody's watching. And I was like, "There's."
I know. I was sitting there. After I got yelled at by Dion. Sponge. Don't forget who brought you to this dance. Okay, buddy. Remember, I got stuck in this bathtub. I thought I was going to have to call him to get me out.
Oh, my God. That's one of the best.
So, anyway, listen, looking forward, I wanted to, this everybody loves this show. How they wouldn't? We're so fucking talented. Shit, I'm out of town on the 11th. How about the 18th? Could you guys do the 18th?
That would probably work for me. Let me look at here.
I'm open right now.
I am,
the 18th?
The 18th. Yeah.
Or the 25th. We could do back-to-backs. People love us so much.
I would have to let you know about where I am at this project that I'm working on.
Okay. Now, can you lock in one of them and I try to get you the other one? Like, can you lock in the 18th or the 15th and then
the 18th or the 25th? Give me one of those two. I'm just
I'm good for both, buddy.
Yeah, in the month of August I'm heavy into a project.
Okay. Well, give me preferably the 18th if you could.
Yeah. Okay.
So
we'll give you that one.
All right. So I can lock that in.
Yeah.
All right. I'm putting Bert and Brian. Perfect. And then Brian, do you want to let me know what date you and Gina?
Let me get back to you on that. But,
maybe
you're
the 18th,
out the 11th. So.
I'm out the 11th, but maybe the 18th or the 25th for you and Gina.
Yeah. We could do.
Let me know.
Do the 25th.
Gina is the best family lawyer in the country.
Oh. I love her.
She's just so good at what she does because she takes such a practical,
she's
non-abusive approach to it.
So she did the best job for me that I couldn't have asked for a better job.
She's so nice. I love her. Plus,
she's great to work with too.
Yeah,
does she ever gotta set you straight?
We complement each other well. like she gets a little bit of anxiety over certain like manager parts of the practice that I help her with and help talk her through, and then she helps calm me down because I can be a little fiery, annoyance, a little prickish sometimes. Right. Yeah.
Anyway, Brian. Anyway, Brent.
Awesome.
You and I are hanging out, and Brian, you're going back to your sweatshop.
Yeah, I gotta go get some stuff done at the office.
And more importantly, man, thank you to all for watching. I'm right, you're left, we're screwed. And listen, this show is political, but we also get into sport. Listen, it's our show. We'll do whatever the fuck we want.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, politics and sports, same thing.
And the trips down memory lane with you two are worth everything right now.
Oh, those are so fun. Hatley, I really, honest to God, Brent, I really do miss our dynamic. I do.
Yeah, it was those days.
I mean, name radio that was better.
There's not.
There isn't any.
There's not.
There isn't any.
There's not. Like, and people
that was so real and raw and it just not. There was nothing. There were no pretenses. It was radio by guys who knew different dudes too, even whatever he turned into. Spice brought his dynamic, right? As the counter
absolutely. Hey, Brent and I hate Spice Boy, but he was within our microcosm of our little world. It worked. He was great. He went on to do some real fucked up shit. Manson has showed his ass. I don't want to give those guys even the time of day. But man, we had a very special dynamic during a very special time, and I don't even know that we knew how special it was while it was happening.
No, and I'm reading the book right now that was written by Ronnie James Dio, of course, of Black Sabbath and Rainbow and Dio, and I kind of understand. It helps you to understand why bands break up, why radio shows break up, why all this stuff happens, because there's some weird shit that goes on that you don't know. You're like, I don't understand why, Ace Frehley doesn't want to be in Kiss anymore, But there's other
jealousy.
Reasons. Yeah,
There's jealousy. I mean, I'm going to go ahead and say it. I mean, Spice Boy thought that I was a fat piece of shit and that I got lucky and that he was more talented than me. I mean, listen, I don't want to get too far deep in the woods with this, but that's the truth.
Yeah.
Hatley, you witnessed it. You
Absolutely.
saw it. You're my friend. You'll be honest with me. You know that I am a really good host.
You are.
One of the best. And he was not better than me.
No way. Not even close. And
I don't know. Him and Nilla did some pretty memorable radio.
but
you had to bring up Nilla.
Nilla. But the host, I worked with this amazing radio consultant. She's the best consultant I've ever worked with. Her name's Valerie Geller. And she said, some people are good generators and some people are good reactors. You are a great generator, like a host.
Right.
Generator. You are one of the best generators ever in the history of radio. And it helped me to understand that I'm a good reactor. I'm not a great host. I can go on and do a serial killer show and lay out the facts for you, but I'm a better reactor than a generator.
Right? And when you get a good generator and you get some couple good fucking reactors to set you guys up with some great softballs to fucking ring it all in and try to keep it all together and then bounce it all around the room and keep people and get a fake character involved and all that kind of, it's straight money. And it's probably the Howard 101 era.
Yeah.
With Howard, us, and Scotty Farrell.
06 to 08.
Is I don't give a fuck if you don't like me, you don't like Howard, you don't like if you're an honest radio person, I don't care if you're Mike Calton, you work at Cox, or you're iHeart and you hate our guts. That was the best radio lineup in the history of radio.
Ever. I mean, think about it. Artie on the Stern Show in those years was the best years of the Stern Show.
Yeah.
That's one thing I'll never understand is how Howard pretty much doesn't even acknowledge his existence with the show or that he was on the show. That bothers the fuck out of me.
And Artie has got such a big heart. Bubba knows him very well.
He is, but he's a fuck up like me.
Yeah, but he can be a fuck up and you still acknowledge. Look, you're not whitewashing history here saying
I'm not
Spice and Manson had very little to do with the success of the show.
No, they had a lot to do with it.
Or you're not going to mention them.
No.
That's one thing.
In fact,
that
I don't.
Has rubbed me wrong.
I don't know. Maybe Brent, you might be able to think of, or Brian. I don't know of anybody that I won't acknowledge on the show of being like even Spice, who I hate his fucking guts. I will acknowledge that Spice within my world was brilliant, was great.
I mean, you've had lots of guys. You acknowledge that Guido was on your show and all these guys.
Mike Calta was on my show.
Mike Calta was, he was Cowhead on your show.
But none of these guys give me my due. They all think that I got lucky or I truly am a radio journeyman. Nobody else in my world, and Britt just most recently kind of branched out, but prior to that, I was the guy that was in Grand Rapids. I was the guy in Orlando. I was the guy in Milwaukee. I was the guy in very that went and did the time to learn the craft to kind of teach you guys a little bit. And I don't think that necessarily I get that recognition that I taught. I mean, almost like the Bill Walsh of coaching tree.
Yeah, but you know what the analogy, the sports analogy is, I think this is where you're going wrong on the paradigm. I think you've got to, because this is art. So I think you've got to move it over to the music analogy, and you'll look at bands, like big time bands that people developed with, and they don't give each other the due. They don't speak to each other. They hate each other to this day. Like, Paul Stanley and Gene Simmons gave Ace Frehley a huge break. This guy was homeless, but he was a great guitar player. They gave him a huge break. They all fucking hate each other now. It is just in art. This kind of thing goes on, and it gets all muddied. Like, look at Pink Floyd, one of the greatest bands of all time. Roger Waters and David Gilmour will not work with each other no matter what. They could make $1 zillion doing a stadium tour right now today, and David Gilmour's like, there's not enough money you can pay me to work with that motherfucker. But
but I'm going to tell you right now.
But Roger Waters wrote The Wall and had a lot to do with his musical influence.
But I'm telling you right now, I wouldn't work. There's 3 or 4 motherfuckers that work for me that I would not. I would quit radio before I worked with them.
Let's
I
hypothetical.
agree with
You're offered to bring the exact lineup back to Stern and Sirius right now for the money that you would do.
No,
but you had to be the same lineup.
Nope.
No.
I'll make the lesser money that I'm making now, and like who I work with.
And I feel the exact same way.
And know that I don't. I think that my guys genuinely like me. We all play our different roles, but I don't think any of them are trying to fucking sell my sex tapes and ruin my fucking life.
Yeah, see, I agree with Bubba. I understand, like, a lot of people criticized Megyn Kelly for leaving Fox News and saying, well, she ruined her career, this and that. I go, so you get to a point sometimes where you say, I'm not working with those people. Fuck off. And I can understand and empathize with where Megyn Kelly was coming from, because you get to a point, and Bubba's at that point with some people, and I am too. There are people that, I don't care. You could back a dump truck up full of money. I am not working with those people.
Money doesn't matter to me as much as it used to.
Me either.
I need about $2,600 a month to live, and that's all I fucking need.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Is
for real. I used to need, $200,000 a month.
You used to need $2,600 a day to live.
Yeah,
you're right.
But you're
right, Brian.
You get your cost of living down, and then you understand that your time is more valuable than money, and what's more valuable than money is not having to be around toxic fucking cunts. That is worth
fake, hypocritical, behind your back stabbing fucks.
Yeah. So, and people that are just toxic. And then once you get to that point in life, you realize, listen, I am not only am I not working with people like that and those people, I'm not spending a second in their presence. Ever. Right. You can't pay me. You can't make me. You can't court order me. Fuck you. I'm not going to be around you. And just like Bubba, I've got a list of people like that too. I will not work with. Period. End of question. And that question you asked, they wouldn't be able to get Bubba, and they wouldn't be able to get me.
Yeah,
I'll tell you who I could. I could tell you who I would get. Right there, that motherfucker right there. My dream lineup would be him and who I got now, and that would be my room. That would be my dream lineup. And that I mean, maybe Shannon, but Shannon's kind of host and alpha.
Well, Shannon's a generator.
Yeah, you can't have two generators in the room
that's the
together.
thing. That's the thing that I really learned from Valerie is you can't have two generators. When you can have one generator with a group of reactors, and you can have a really good show. Like,
unless it's a moderated show.
And you know what,
almost
Manson,
like Crossfire or First Take.
And with
you
Manson,
have two generators, but you have somebody who's moderating.
Right.
That's the only way two generators together can work.
Yes.
And with Manson, up until fairly, I didn't have any problems with him. He determined my mindset after the fact.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, but anyway.
Yeah, it's just you have to understand how the art itself works. And like I said, I'm reading some of these books about bands and some of their interaction. Like there's, in Deep Purple, there's one Richie Blackmore, he plays that's the lead guitar player. Everybody doesn't get to be the lead guitar player. You've got to know each person's role, and And when you're talking about art, which this is, egos and jealousy are the ruin everything. They ruin bands. They ruin the Guns N' Roses. They ruin Black Sabbath. They ruin, everything. Everything is all art eventually gets ruined. I mean, even there's people that have left Howard's show, and I'm friendly with all of them, everybody that you hear on the air, but there are people that have left the show on good terms that are very famous that have done well since, and they're not. So everybody has their ego and everybody has their thing in art. And I think, Bubba, that's why you're just going to have to sit with the fact that, hey, we created great art, and whether these people admit it or not, or whether they give you credit or not, that doesn't matter. What matters is what came through the speakers.
Yep. And that being said, Brian, I know you're very busy, big time lawyer.
Starving. I need to go.
I gotta piss.
Something.
I'm hungry too. Hallie, you want to go? You want to go get something?
Yeah, chicken sandwich tour.
Let's go get a chicken sandwich. Donkey teeth for the $9.99 and the wrap up. We will see you guys on the 18th, and I'm going to try to get the 25th out of Hatley as well.
Yeah, it'll just depend on where I am on this project I'm working on.
Perfect. Brian, thank you.
Thank you.
Britt, thank you.
Thank you. That was awesome.
And we'll see you guys all later.